just dawned on me that you ain't coming back. I've lost my chance to see us find our way back. And in the end, amidst these trying times, I'll always try to find you. I'll lie to you to find the truth that you hold back. So stay with me, you know that I'll follow. I can't breathe, together we'll fall apart. Stay here right in my arms, and we'll start again. So stay. Dramatically talk to me, and it's so funny, you're all I wanted, and I can't talk, want you out of my life, so say none. I'll wait for days if you ain't one, I'll say none. So stay with me, you know that I'll follow. I can't breathe, together we'll fall apart. Stay here right in my arms, we'll start again. So stay with me, together we'll fall apart. Together we'll fall apart. Together we'll fall apart. Stay here right in my arms, and we'll start again. So stay with me, together we'll fall apart.
Four French drivers at the French Grand Prix trying to win this on the final lap. The three wide again, Guillaume down the inside. Guillaume moves across, they're both in front of Milan and
But
Pouget.
before you know it, we find ourselves here in the very final race of the competition.
And then they see truck racing and they think, this is crazy, you know, these are 5-ton machines, 1200 horsepower brake. Oh, look at that switchback. Oh, you've been loved and a terrific show off. All the way from back there. Still on board with Ben Gregory now. I love it. 18.5 minutes gone. Senna Lanson tries to go for the race lead.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head to head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Good evening, everybody. Good evening, and welcome to Chaz Draycott Media, and welcome to the Sim Racing Magazine Road America 400 kilometers, sponsored by Orris Digital and Derbyshire Holiday Homes. My name is Chaz Draycott, alongside the wonderful Ed May in the commentary box for what is going to be a great evening's racing, we can tell you that. We're here at the amazing Road America, such an underrated circuit in my opinion, one that does get used quite a lot here on the service but doesn't get the love that it deserves from drivers. Ed, we've had some fantastic races and championships and events of all kinds around here between the two of us before. What do you reckon that is going to be the main talking point this evening for the drivers to focus on?
I think the main talking point is mainly going to be the drivers focusing on where they'll all be lining up, because a lot of them will be getting ready for the next season, season 3 of the Sim Racing Magazine GT4 challenge. This is what we would, I guess, say as a prelude to the season to come, such as last season where we rounded out the action with the Daytona Classic. This time we kick it off with a special event. And I think that's one where the drivers will really start to get their teeth properly sunk back into the machinery as well. We have a few drivers here, obviously, as a one-off that won't be taking part in the next season. But it's just great to have so many drivers out there all battling away. And we can see now they're trading times in qualifying. Lewis Ward about to come to the line. Simon Povey's just bested the time set earlier by Lewis. So we'll see what that will be when he comes up to the line. Is there an improvement? Is he going to get onto provisional pole position? No, he doesn't seem to set any time actually as he crossed the line there. So currently now Simon Povey, as he did for quite a lot of the season when he was around, he put it onto that front row spot. And look at that lovely Spontex CDM Esports car.
Yes, indeed. It's a special livery for Simon this evening. He came to me a while ago and said, Spontex, which is a cleaning company over here in the UK, have a range of sort of mops and scourers and things, basically, and a lot of the packaging comes in this gorgeous teal colour. And Simon said, you know what would look nice on that McLaren? If you made that teal the base colour. So we went for metallic to make it all nice and shiny, because following the whole idea of cleaning things, put a load of sparkles all over it, and honestly, I'm really surprised at how well it turned out. Simon loves it. It's got his Precision Sim Engineering logo on it as well. And he's been really, really pleased with the result of this car, and at the moment puts it fastest. Christian Zaruta is a fantastic addition to have to the event. And we also, somewhere in there, have Taylor Adams for Regenta Sim Racing. Now he's running the Cystic Fibrosis Trust livery on his car. It's Cystic Fibrosis Awareness Month this month as well, and Taylor himself does have cystic fibrosis, so it's lovely to see that he's running the trust on the car for this evening, and he's doing well in it at the moment, up in 5th place. That's down to 6th though, as Altitude Esports Tim Perry goes right up near the front. And look at Lee Berridge up there in 7th place, doing it for the BMW, Ed.
Yeah, exactly, and this will be the basically stomping ground for that car, because it's so quick in a straight line. We've said it all season long in season 2, didn't we, Chaz? Just how much for a little pocket rocket that thing is when it puts the power down that top end. It's ridiculous. So we're going to see what Lee Berridge can do throughout the course of tonight. The 400 kilometers roughly translates to, I think, 62 laps.
Yes.
Which I think time-wise is around about 2 hours and 20 minutes, with around, because it's about a sort of 2-minute 16 lap time. It roughly equates out to that length of time. We do, of course, have a time limit as well on the session, so for whatever reason, if everyone decides to poodle around very slowly, the session will end after 2 hours and 35 minutes. So ideally we're going to have a fairly decent schedule to be following, and we'll get those laps and those kilometers in, you would imagine. But it's great to see a huge variety of cars out on the circuit, a few more Porsches than we saw last season. I think actually it was I think we only had the 2, didn't we, last season? So it's great to have a few more than that out on the road. Maybe not a circuit that favours it, obviously, with the top end of this car lacking somewhat compared to the likes of the Mercedes.
One of my cameras clearly not working there. I'm really sorry. I'm really sorry, everybody. You might have to bear with me on that, because that camera is clearly not working. I set these up just before we went live earlier on, and well, they were working earlier, so I'm not quite sure what has caused that. But I know that we cannot go through the entire race like that. So if you bear with me 2 minutes, we'll have Radio Ed as I try and figure out this camera here. I'm really, really sorry. We will get it sorted.
So like we can see currently in the session, it is Simon Povey who's top of the timing sheet. Sim Perry's coming to the pit, so as we get towards the second half of qualifying, it is about 20 minutes, so the drivers tend to pop in midway through, get fresh rubber on, and go out for the final few runs. It's more about finding yourself in the right place at the right time around a track like this. Obviously, with long straight, slipstreaming is at a premium. It's vital to get those lap times in when you can, and if you can also manage to get those few tenths shaved off on the account of having a car in front of you pulling you along, that will just help you all the more, as I think we may be able to have a nice speedy camera change moment by wonderful broadcaster Chaz, who's been sorting everything out in the background. I think he's got it up and running now.
Yeah, we're back now. It should work, I think. I hope. We've got Daniel Martin right up there near the front of the order. I will send you the updated cameras, Ed, so you don't look at a completely daft angle that we were having there. Basically, when you edit the cameras here on iRacing, you can choose when a camera starts and when it finishes looking at a car based on where it is on the circuit. And all I'd done is basically given it a start time that was way too early because I duplicated one of the cameras, so it was looking very far away from where it should have done. Top three at the moment, less than a tenth of a second between them at the moment, and considering it's 2.25 minutes, which is just about as long as Spa-Francorchamps, that is unbelievable. Although actually in Spa-Francorchamps in a GT3 car is about 2:15, maybe 2:20, so it's clearly not as long as Spa, this place. But there's a lot of RD SimSport cars. We've got three boosted cars together in the middle of the field, Lee Berridge, Mike Horder and Ben Gregory at the moment. They've also got their teammate John Roberts out there as well. He's in the brand new livery for this season for Boosted Motorsport. This is the debut of their 2023 livery. Hello everybody in the YouTube chat as well. Lovely to see you all. Hope you're having a fantastic week so far. And welcome back to GT4 racing on Tuesday nights, everyone. Because after this, a week today, can you believe it? A week today, we're going to start Season 3 of the Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Challenge. Am I prepared for it? No. But is everyone else? No. It's going to be amazing to get the championship underway. And to be fair, Ed, we've got one hell of a calendar, haven't we? Some great circuits we're going to in Season 3.
Oh, mate, we do. But I'd love to focus on what we've got here because, like you say, the qualifying is starting to ramp up. The drivers are finding themselves in that lovely little window, and we've got, like you say, some great drivers out there, great teams as well. It's good to see RD SimSport out there in force, but we've actually got Christian Saruta top of the timing sheets in wonderful little Petronas AMG livery for Pilifi Racing, and that's a very nice lap time indeed, nearly a tenth faster than that of Simon Povey. It does seem to be the McLarens and the Mercedes that are on pace around here. Interesting enough, I thought we would have seen the BMWs a little bit higher up, but I suppose it's also down to where they find themselves out on the circuit. Like I was mentioning earlier, Chaz, the slipstream is so crucial around here in qualifying.
Yeah, it really is, and I think we're going to see a number of drivers really going for it in terms of the slipstream during the race and just sort of sitting behind one another, you know, just maybe saving a bit of fuel because there is only a 50% fuel limit for these cars over the course of the race, so they don't have all of the fuel in the world. The frame rate may die quite a lot down the start-finish straight, I've realised. At the moment, it seems that iRacing, now I've got everything turned up again after doing some fancy replays recently. It's killing my graphics card once again. Martin Kenyon asking for a request on the radio. He wants Distance by Cake. Oh, The Distance by Cake. Drew Fletcher saying, good luck to all the Team SRM boys. Sorry I couldn't make it. Drew is Derbyshire Holiday Homes, one of the sponsors of the event, and we thank Drew for his wonderful support to SRM. They will also be supporting the Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Challenge as well. We've got a wonderful host of sponsors on board for that. This is Guy Robertson in the Mupar Gaming machine, the number 17 BMW with a Cyberpunk livery on it. He's got Fausto Pinto just in front of him on the road as well, and the Scalant Pro driving Aston Martin. This lovely sort of gold beige colour down the side of it as well, and that very shiny metallic purpley blue along the top. They've got the event logo as well in the middle. His teammate Tom Weston's going really well at the moment as well. Tom's really put some time into the Aston Martin, as Povey, goodness me, without slipstream, by the look of it, goes nearly half a second quicker than Christian Zaruta. Oh my goodness me. That's a savage lap time by Simon Povey. Christian Zaruta improves on his own. No, he doesn't improve on his own, actually. Improves in Sector 1. Russell Clark crosses the line. He's going to be hoping to improve on his time there. 35 cars tonight we have in this event. Dina Miller in the Twitch chat saying, hey, how are you today? We're doing all right, thank you. Hope you're doing well as well. Welcome to the stream. Hope you enjoy the race. We've got plenty of time left to go over the course of this evening, I can tell you that. We've got James Holman out there for RD Sim Sport, which is good to see. James is a Legends driver, and I'm the presenter and interviewer, let's say, for the the UK Legends Cars National Championship this year. And James, unfortunately, not on the grid for it, but he's certainly a pokey driver. He knows exactly what he's doing, and he is second in all the Porsches at the moment, because Stuart Clark is currently flying the flag as hello, Ralph Mayer. Off the road he goes for a big moment. Quite a nice camera there. I'm quite proud of that one. I have started to add a few more. Oh, yeah, there was a moment there where it don't work right. You can see that then. I've added a few more static cameras into a lot of the packs and things that I've been using, and it just makes that extra little bit of a difference, you know. It looks a little bit more cinematic, you know. Oh.
Yeah, oh, dearie me. That was a hefty whack
that was
into
Holman.
The wall there.
After I
pushing a little bit hard after we just praised them. I think the cursor struck pretty harshly there on James Holman.
Yeah, big hit that was, actually, wasn't it? Here's Pete Thickett, who has now gone the fastest out of all of the Porsches. He goes to the top of the times in the Scuderia Chicken House livery. I absolutely love these cars. They look so cool. Whoa, that's Danny Jones. Nobody else runs a Haribo livery other than Danny Jones, running that number 5 as well. I love the bear on the back of it. That's really cool. I really like that. Danny's been running a livery in the Porsche Club of Great Britain Sim Racing Series for a long time with the Haribo bear on it, and he continues to do it here as well. Christian Ceruta's done a purple sector on his lap and a lot of personal bests. He gets a big slide out the final corner. He's got just under 2 minutes left to go before the session is complete. And across the line
I've also,
he goes.
Chaz,
Sorry?
I think been able to work out something rather interesting. Who was it that asked for the distancing cake?
You're joking. Martin Kenyon.
So, okay, as a representation for an average cake, we've gone for a Marks & Spencer's Colin the Caterpillar cake. Equates to around about 11 inches. So we've worked it out to round it up, say 28 centimetres. For those 28 centimetres, it will take 3,571 Colin the Caterpillar cakes to make up 1 kilometre. So then to multiply that by 400 gives us 1,428,571 Colin the Caterpillar cakes.
There you go, Martin.
Other chocolate Caterpillar cakes are available from other supermarkets.
But don't buy them.
Then just not as good.
Yeah, not Colin. Povey has amazed a lot of people with that time, but Ceruta has gone just under a tenth and a half quicker than... just under a tenth and a half slower at the moment, so it's certainly on between those two. Tim Perry's doing very well up there in 5th place for Altitude Esports in his Mercedes as well. Lee Berridge really flying the flag for the BMWs, and he's actually now just gone up into 7th position as well, improved a little bit more, and Tim Perry's gone 3rd fastest in the Mercedes, so the pair of them both going very, very well. The lovely, shiny Altitude Esports cars. Mark Johnson has improved in the Legends racing machine as well, carrying the fantastic livery that we've seen on the Aston Martin Vantage GTE car in the World Endurance Championship. It was at Sebring earlier in the season. And that is going to be almost it for qualifying. Rob Sutherland asking if we can hold a minute's silence for Callum Brandt's internet connection. I wish we could, mate. Which confuses me, actually, because Callum Brandt is not here. Neither is Drew Fletcher. But we had... That would mean 37 cars, and we had 36 sign up. So who's been naughty here? Who's not on the entry list here?
Who's you snuck in? What is going on here?
Right. You might have to bear with me here.
I've been distracted trying to do cake maths while all of this has been going on. So now it's Chaz's turn to be distracted and hunt for the naughty lads that have been able to sneak in while I try and talk us through these last few moments of qualifying. So we have Kim Such at the moment, just coming through. Wonderful area of the circuit now, coming towards the carousel. So tricky in this car because it's a slightly shorter wheelbase.
Ignore me, no, because while we had 2 drivers that can't make it, one of them was replaced by Charlie Stout. So yeah,
okay,
so it's fine. There's no one has snuck in. I would have noticed, to be fair. I'm usually quite on it with entry lists and so on. But it looks like it's going to be Simon Povey that's going to take the fastest time at the moment. Johnny Elia is just coming towards the end of a lap, but I think he's having a slow in-lap. Maybe going to practice his pit entry, because you may as well every single time. Another one of the gorgeous 11 tenths racing team cars. They always have fantastic liveries on their racing machines. Lee Berridge is also circulating, but I think he is on an in-lap at this rate. No improvements on his lap so far, and he's also going to come into the pits. Mark Johnson has improved in a couple of sectors, though, in the Aston Martin. Around the final corner. Really pushing it around that last corner there. Up the hill he goes. Big old hill to go up.
Long run up to the line as well, isn't it? Actually, out of that final corner, it just shows how important the run is, and he does improve up into 14th place. That's a decent improvement there, up from 18th to 14th. Puts himself in the mix just behind Ben Gregory, ahead of Oliver Carwadine. So you've got some lovely liveries out here that we'll be able to shine spotlights on, I think. Ben Bennyworth is on a in-lap here. You see him not pushing too hard through that final corner. Yet peeling off into the pit lane, which we'll be seeing the drivers do multiple times throughout the evening. Like you say, with the 50% fuel tank limit to the capacity, it does mean that we will see drivers opting to take to the pits quite a few times, as we see Simon Povey do exactly that and conclude qualifying for the 400 kilometers of Road America.
Yes, indeed, and that's going to be that for now. You can see the Spontex car glinting away in the pit lane. Any moment now, the session will tick over, and then everything will reset. We've got a 5-minute warm-up session now, where we're going to just go over the grid. Ed and I are just going to have a couple of minutes break to make sure we've got a drink and everything ready to go, because we're not going to have a break during the race, really. We're just going to go straight for it all the way through and give you complete coverage throughout that. So if you do, please bear with us. I know we've not been on air that long. We've only been on air for about 24 minutes since we went live in the first place. But still, we want to make sure we're all prepped and ready to go. And having a drink as a qualifier... A qualifier? No. I almost said a commentator. As a commentator is very, very important. But qualifying is done with now. And we're going to have a look through the results of said session, if we get them. That's apparently a GT3 class. But that's not what we want. We want the overall class, please. There we go. Simon Povey is on pole position by 0.3 of a second. So he even improved on his previous lap, actually, over Christian Saruta. Tim Perry with a fantastic third place. Really good stuff from Tim. Dan Martin as well, a championship driver that we're not going to be seeing in the Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Challenge, I believe. He is then ahead of Lewis Ward, reigning champion in the GT4 Challenge, 1,000th of a second behind him. Johnny Elia in car 6, P6 for 11 tenths racing team. Lee Berridge next up alongside Guy Edwards on row 4, cars 54 and 55. Then it's Taylor Adams in 9th in his Mercedes alongside Pete Thickett. Then we have Mike Horder in 11th place with Byron Crawford in 12th. Ben Gregory starting 13th with Mark Johnson alongside him on the 7th row of the grid. Not much at all between himself and Oliver Carwadine. Then it's Ben Bennyworth in 16th place, Stuart Clark 17th, and James Holman next up in 18th place. Then we have Rob Sutherland in 19th. Tom Weston eventually ended up 20th, just ahead of his teammate Fausto Pinto. Then we have Charlie Stout and John Roberts, who is alongside Heinz Mayer on the 12th row. And would you look at that, for just some coincidence, Heinz Mayer and Ralph Mayer right together on the grid once again. Toby Ward, 13th row completed by him. Danny Jones, 27th, ahead of Kim Such in 28th. Yes, there's more. Stefan Mellis is going to be 29th, with Martin Shirley alongside him on row 15. Then we have Guy Robertson alongside Andrew Shepherd in the Scuderia Chicken House car. Then it's Jakob Schmansky and Russell Clark. And the boss man, Andy Marston, he's just giving everyone else a chance, isn't he, Ed? He's just letting them enjoy themselves without the boss man getting in the way in 35th position.
Yeah, exactly. Well, like you say, Chaz, going to be going for a few short minutes just to get drinks and snacks ready. I wish I had a Colin the Caterpillar cake now, actually, after all that mess, but I'll try and find something to tide me over and fill the void while we're getting ready for, I can't believe it, the Road America 400 kilometers is getting started soon.
It really is, everybody. Give us 2 minutes and we'll be right back with you. So hello again, everybody. Chaz, Draycott and Ed May here for the Sim Racing Magazine events 400 kilometres of Road America. Technically, it's actually called the Road America 400 kilometres. And we really hope you're having a fantastic evening so far. We're here at this amazing circuit for what is going to be a long, long race for these drivers. It should be just about 2.5 hours, maybe just less than that. But the full timer is 2 hours and 35 minutes, and that is the maximum time we will have for today's event. But it's going to be 62 laps here around this track, and that's going to take them a hell of a long time. It's certainly going to feel like it as well, isn't it, Ed? Because it's not a short lap here by any stretch of the imagination.
No, it really isn't, which obviously means that the drivers will be trying to fuel save as much as possible to spend the least time on that final stop. If you can also extend it by a little while longer, means that you can get yourself sometimes in clearer track, and that can just be what you'll need to get up to the line and get those positions when the drivers battle it out on pit lane. We've got a full pace lap as well, Chaz, so we don't need to rush too much for the rundown of the grid.
Well, no, if I was any sort of professional, I probably would have set it as a short one. But it's going to be Simon Povey on pole position for Spontex CDM Esports. He's going to be alongside Christian Zaruta. These guys are going to absolutely hate me for this full lap, I know it. Tim Perry is going to line up third with Dan Martin alongside him on the second row of the grid, with Lewis Ward and Johnny Elia on row 3. Then we have Lee Berridge and Guy Edwards on row 4. Taylor Adams and Pete Thickett round out your top 10. Mike Horder and Byron Crawford will line up in 11th and 12th places on the 6th row of the grid, with Ben Gregory alongside Mark Johnson. Those two had some great races actually together in the Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Challenge last season. Oliver Carwadine is next up in 15th place, with Ben Bennyworth alongside him in 16th. Then we have Stuart Clark in 17th place, James Holman in 18th, Rob Sutherland is 19th, and completing the top 20 is Tom Weston. He's got his teammate Fausto Pinto right behind for Scalant Pro Driving. Then it's Charlie Stout in 22nd place. There was a comment from Christopher Smith saying the dinosaur livery on Charlie Stout's car looked absolutely awesome, and yes, it does. John Roberts is debuting the new livery for Boosted Motorsport tonight as well. He's got Heinz Mayer alongside him. Must give a great shout out to Heinz as well of Orris Digital, one of the sponsors of the championship and a fantastic supporter of Sim Racing Magazine and myself and all of the events that we put on. Ralph Mayer, his brother, for Orris Racing, joins him right behind him on the grid in 25th place. Next up is Toby Ward. He's 26th, ahead of Danny Jones in 27th. He's got Kim Such alongside him on row 14. Then we have Stefan Mellis in 29th place. I noticed he's in a McLaren. I actually originally had him down in a different car, so his decal error is not showing, so apologies for that. Martin Shirley is 30th on the grid. Guy Robertson is 31st alongside Andrew Shepherd on row 16 of the grid. Then it's Jakub Szymanski, who I think has got back into the session. Yes, his internet was dying before, but he's managed to sort it out. Russell Clark starts alongside him on the 17th row. Then we've got Andrew Marston, the boss man, at the back of the field, hoping for a good race from there to pick up the pieces. So, Ed, what do we think about at this stage other than frame rate?
Yeah, frame rate is certainly one of the things springing to mind. Obviously looking a little bit like a PowerPoint presentation, but that will sort itself out. It's always a little bit difficult when the cars are so tightly bunched together. The sim and the PCs have to render everything in all at once, and it's a little bit difficult for at moments, but looks all right and will get better, obviously, like you say, as the race moves on. Not sure if the drivers will be too upset with you, to be honest, about this longer lap behind the pace car, purely because it gives them more time to warm up their tyres. The worst thing you could have done was put it as a standing start, and I don't think you would ever do something like that, Chaz.
Oh, no, never. No, I'd never made that mistake before, especially with Simon Povey on pole position. That'd never happen.
Didn't affect me.
No.
I was on the front row. I managed to start fine. Everyone else did. It was only Simon.
For everyone else's reference, the middle of the Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Challenge Season 1, Simon Povey and Ed were on the front row of the grid together, and Idiot here set it as a standing start. So when the lights came on, a few of the drivers decided to get moving rather than waiting. And
you say a few. It was only Simon.
I think there was another driver as well that got a drive-through and carried on. Can't remember who it was though. Further down the order.
I don't mind. I'll just take it as a valid win. I overtook him before he came in for his penalty, so I'll take it as a valid win.
Oh, savage! Look at the Scalant Pro
I've
driving.
got to. I'm against Simon. He's too quick. I have to take the wins when I get them.
This might be quite a nice shot here, actually. This frame rate is going to die, though. I do apologise, everybody. I'm only running an RTX 2070, and it can't handle 35 GT4 cars at once. Look at it. Look at the frame rate on that. There you go. So it's nice, lovely shot though. That I'm quite happy with that. There will be a few frames here actually. Wait for it. It's seemingly I've not stitched it together properly. They're ready. Look, there you go. We get a bit of greenery between it. There you go. You get a bit of salad on the meat of the sandwich, which is these wonderful camera angles. Anyway, two very shiny cars in the front row of the grid here, Ed. Two absolute stars, in my opinion. Christian Saruta and Simon Povey. Christian is the reigning Porsche Club of Great Britain sim racing champion, and Simon Povey has won the Sim Racing Magazine GT4 challenge before. Who do you reckon has got this one in them, if it's either of these two?
I don't know. I'm keeping my eyes open for Tim Perry. He could be the spoiler of the pack. So could Lewis Ward. Let's not discount any of the drivers in the top 10, though, over the course of this long 62-lap race. Well, now here we go. The green flag is going to show for Simon Povey as he crosses the line and starts the Road America 400 kilometers. And actually, look at this. Tim Perry's seeing that there's a chance up the inside already on Christian Saruta, making gains early in this long race. You can see him all sprinting up to the first corner, but Simon Povey gets through unscathed, as does Christian Saruta. The top two stay as they were, with Tim Perry in third. Lewis Ward gaining a few places as well, actually up into fourth position. Cracking start by the reigning champion of the Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Challenge.
Yep, great stuff by Lewis Ward. Oh, there's cars off in the background. Ben Gregory's involved. Ben Gregory was around there. Pete Thickett went off as well. I didn't quite catch who the other one was, but Pete Thickett's still going down the order. There's a few of them around, actually. I think Russell Clark is backwards in the background there. He's certainly involved. That's Jakub Szymanski there in that too. Lewis Ward has now gained 2 places from where he started. Nearly goes into the back of Saruta. He's got Tim Perry on his inside. I don't think he knew he was still there. Side by side as they go up the hill. Hard on the brakes under the bridge. Look at the two of them rubbing panels there, rubbing wing mirrors and still making nearly contact. Anyway, I think they just about got away with it there. We've also got Tom Weston. Tom Weston's around. Whoa, big damage. The bumper goes skidding off down the road. The front of the cars ended up going further than the rest of it. Andrew Marston losing a place there as one of the chicken house cars goes down the inside of him. But Tom Weston's day, well, already very badly affected by the look of it. You do get a fast repair in this race, so you can survive and go back to the pits and try and make something of it a little bit later, because the thing is, you've got so long in this race, you may as well take that fast repair and crack on. You know, some of the drivers are putting so much time practicing for this event that they will have to just get on with it if they have an incident. But it's Povey leading the way from Saruta. These two pushing very hard at the moment. But because Lewis Ward's been battling behind them with Tim Perry, he's actually left a bit of a gap now in front of him. So he needs to be careful that he doesn't let them get too far away in these early stages. Guy Edwards has got a great battle going on here with Johnny Elia, Mike Horder and then Taylor Adams involved. But look at the gap back here from Taylor Adams. Not that you can see it because of the wing, but there's no cars near them for ages. It's about 3 seconds back already in the middle of the pack there. We need to go and have a look back at what happened though, Ed, because that second corner was a nightmare.
Yeah, it was for a few of the drivers, so we'll have a look and see. But I have to say, I love the move that Lewis Ward made early doors just to get those positions. I'll have a look here at just what happened to Pete Thickett.
Now, it was down at turn 2, but I wanted to see how shuffled he got down at turn 1, because it's a long, long run down here, and you need to be hard on the brakes very, very early. You can see everyone just taking it nice and easy. There's a car on his inside line. Sounds like a McLaren. I think it's Ben Gregory in the McLaren, actually, that'll be next to him. He's got a red front end and actually, no, it's Mike Horder that's down the inside. Who goes for it? Ben Gregory's there. Oh, Pete just turns across him, if I'm honest. Ben put his nose down the inside and Pete turns through. What happens to Szymanski? Oh, Jakub gets caught out by the check-up there, actually, of Russell Clark and goes into the back of him. Russell quite lucky there that the Porsche is basically mid-engined and not front-engined. Rear-engined as it is in most other cases. But look at this now. Great battle going on here. There's loads of Mercedes in the thick of all this, a McLaren and a BMW at either end. But it's 2x2 down the hill into the left-hander. This is hard racing now, Ed. This is great. This is what we want to see.
Yeah, this is brilliant. Look at them all going 2x2 underneath the Corvette bridge. He seems to get a decent run around the outside, and if you can stick yourself up the inside for the right-hander afterwards, tends to get the move made. As we've just seen Mike Horder try to, Taylor Adams, he's kept a wheel alongside, and now down to the left-hander. He's actually backing out. Very smart there. You can see that if he fights too much, he can get brought away from this. That's a big hit into the wall there. Kim Such, the rear wing. Oh, and the same as well for Danny Jones. What's happened there to the pair of them?
Oh, I think...
Oh, and it was a coming together for the pair of them. Danny Jones actually loops it after the fact. For amazing avoidance by the pack behind.
I think that was Shepherd that just about missed him there. Andrew Shepherd just about getting away with it. It was very, very close indeed. I might have to fix that camera as the race goes on because, to be honest, that's going to do my head in. It might not do everyone else's head in, but it's going to do mine in. And to be honest, you know all how picky I am. Anyway, race carries on. Povey, Zaruta, Ward, Berridge and Edwards, the top 5. And Berridge has gained 3 places at the moment, doing a great job. Look at Daniel Martin down the inside of Tim Perry, who had an amazing start, but he's dropped a couple of places by now as Tim. He's now down 4 places on where he begun this race. But it's all go here at Road America, Ed. And to be honest, as Martin Kenyon has said in the chat, they can't do this for 62 laps. This is just going to be chaos.
I mean, you've watched the second season where it was just carnage and just battling from lap to finish, right, of the SRM GT4 challenge. I'm afraid that the drivers can go like this for the remaining 60 laps. Just see now Ben Gregory up the inside if he can get it done on Rob Sutherland, who's actually hanging very nicely around the outside through turn 1 and towards turn 2, which I think they actually call turn 3 because they count that weird little kink as a corner for some reason.
It's not, is it?
Very annoying. It's not at all, is it? No, but that's a lovely move regardless by Ben Gregory up the inside. If we can though, Chaz, go talk about lovely moves. I want to see Lewis Ward start because he made those 2 positions early doors, and then to go around the outside, I think it was on Tim Perry coming under the Corvette Red on cold tyres. That was absolutely spellbinding stuff.
Here we are then on board with Lewis Ward, reigning champion of the Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Challenge. I did tell him I was going to make him run the number 1, but that's just for next season. So he's in 5th place here at the moment. He's got 3 Mercedes and a McLaren in front of him. That's the number 70 car of Dan Martin that he's going around the outside of into turn 1. Lovely stuff. Great commitment. Look at that. He's already cleared him by this point. So he's not got anything to worry about there. He's still in front of him. And he's got Tim Perry there next up. Nice and tidy. Just doing his own thing there, isn't he? He's not trying to force the issue too much. Just gets a great run off the corner. Tucks into the slipstream. It's pretty strong in these GT4 cars. They're not massively aero-dependent, but it certainly makes a difference, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really does. And then obviously coming down into this next corner, just the move around the outside is wonderful to watch.
Oh, there's nearly contact there. They only just got away with that, I'd say. And then look at that, really close to the back of Saruta. Tiny little tap, I think, there through the next corner. But Tim Perry really tightens his lineup, and he does a great job there, actually, doesn't he? He keeps it nice and tidy and makes sure there's no contact. But still, Lewis squeezes him to the apex and then just about clears him before they get to the right-hander. Tim backing out slightly. But yeah, great battling that is by Lewis Ward. Even ran a bit wide on the exit of there as well, but still pushing on hard. As there's now more battling going on because Zaruta is under pressure from the reigning champ as they both try and stay in pursuit of Simon Povey.
You'll see it, and then look at that in the background. I told you that the BMW is pretty quick in a straight line. It didn't qualify well, but in the race, it's come alive, and you can see actually the Mercedes are struggling to keep up with Lee Berridge at the moment, who's having a great start to things here at Road America. You can just see now the closing speed onto the brakes, but then powering out the corner. It just goes. It doesn't seem to have any complaints. There's no movement of the car complaining or losing traction. It just sticks and goes.
Just absolutely gets on with it, doesn't it? There is a phrase for how it goes out of the corner, but it's not broadcastable. This is Guy Robertson in number 17 chasing down Stefan Mellis, the Belgian driver. There's been a change for second place, though, which we need to go and look at because Lewis Ward is now ahead of Christian Zaruta. So typically, as soon as we look away from the battle, it changes, and we missed the important move. He's just down the inside, basically, into the left-hander there down at turn 5. I'm going to go off the track map numbering rather than having to do maths on the fly here, though, Ed. So we are going to count that second one as turn 2. And typically, as soon as we look away from it, Stefan Mellis had a drama. Flashing his lights even on the way around, just to say, there you go. Like poop off a paddle, says Mr. Hedge. No, I was actually going to say something like, something's off, to be honest.
It flies off.
Yeah, it flies off. Yeah, that's the...
It's that word beginning with F, isn't it?
Yeah. That's exactly it. It's a 5-letter word, ended in S, beginning with F. Yeah. With a with a vowel in the middle. Anyway, these three at the moment showing to be the class of the field, but it's not because of just raw pace or a lack of pace from the guys behind. It's just there was a bit of battling, wasn't there, behind the top three, and it's really separated the field. But it's Simon Povey in the almost pearlescent Spontex CDM eSports car leading Apex Racing Academy's Lewis Ward and Pilifis Racing Christian Zaruta, Porsche Club of Great Britain Sim Racing champion last season. An amazing championship that he had. Really good stuff against Johnny Cullen. It went right down to the wire. I was very lucky to share the commentary box with Peter Mackay for that series. We had a right laugh, as we always do. But it's great to see a BMW going so well, isn't it, at the moment, Ed? The highest placed Aston Martin is Byron Crawford here in 11th position. He's gained 1 spot from where he started. Ben Bennyworth has gained 4 spots at the moment. Just trying to see who the biggest mover is. It's actually Toby Ward for Boosted Motorsport in this gorgeous McLaren. He's tied with Andrew Shepherd and Andrew Marston, who have all gained 6 places each. Andrew Marston for Scuderia Chicken House and Andy Marston for the SRM Racing Team in their gorgeous McLaren 570S.
Yeah, absolutely amazing looking car, like you say. The lovely little almost day glow effect onto the wing mirrors and the sides. Actually, not on the wing mirrors on that one. I think it's his teammate that runs the
Goffin
coloured wing mirrors. As we have a change for the lead, Lewis Ward, easiest here. Like, I don't think there was any complaints or real fight from Simon Povey. I think Simon's wanting to save a bit of fuel and slot in behind. So the lead changes yet again, and Lewis Ward's excellent starts there. He keeps getting better, but Christian Cerruto had a slowdown or something because he's dropped way back from this fight.
Yeah, I think he might have done, but it's a bit unfair on Christian there because he was trying to stay out of the way of Simon Povey, because I think he was going to go into the back of him if he didn't sort of back out of it. Johnny Elia here in 8th place has done the fastest first sector out of everybody in the entire race, so he's showing that the slipstream there, being in this pack, is really helping at this point of the race. We've got Mike Horder at the back of this train here. You can see this sort of 7-car train. It's led at the moment by Lee Berridge, and it's Guy Edwards and Daniel Martin for RD Sim Sport, then Altitude Esports Tim Perry, 11 Tenths Racing Team's Johnny Elia, Taylor Adams for Regenta Sim Racing in the Cystic Fibrosis Trust livery, and then Mike Horder for Boosted Motorsport as well in the McLaren. Fantastic sights and sounds from this race already. Sponsored, of course, by Orris Digital and Derbyshire Holiday Homes. I love the sight of them going through the trees like that. It looks really, really cool, doesn't it? And now hard on the brakes into Canada Corner, one of the most difficult corners on the circuit, because it looks like it's going to be a hairpin, but before you know it, you've made your way completely around the corner, haven't you? So you can get back on the throttle again. But sometimes if you do it a few laps in a row, you get that bit of confidence to get on the throttle early, and suddenly you find yourself getting on the throttle too early, don't you?
It's incredibly deceptive. Like you say, the apex is quite a way around the corner as well, actually. The apex fairly late, but it's difficult to spot it as you're getting onto the brakes, and then you have to turn through, and then before you know it, like you say, yeah, the corner is basically in your rearview mirror. As we have a moment here for Andy Marston. Oh, just a little bit wide. Was that coming out of the carousel? I think it was, yeah, into the wall on the right-hand side, and it'll be a trip to the pits.
It is indeed. That was a big, big hit there for Andy. Martin Kenyon asking about pit stops in this race. Yes, we're going to get quite a lot of pit stops here, actually. I think we may get up to 6, if I'm honest with you, because they're going to have about 50%. Actually, no, it's 50% fuel. So, no, we're only going to get maybe 2 or 3, I think. But still, we're going to have a number of them at least. So drivers won't just have the 1 opportunity to pit, or even 2, like we see in the Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Challenge. It's going to be a much longer race than we're used to, and the pit stop opportunities are going to be even more important here. We've got Tim Perry trying to hold off Johnny Elia for the moment, and then behind them, Taylor Adams has got a great front row seat for this battle. And even ahead of that, this is just a horde of Mercedes, really, chasing down Lee Berridge with Mike Horder at the back of it.
Yeah, there's so many of them. It seems like a popular car at the moment, but maybe it's one that suits the track a little bit more. I'm not sure if a lot of the drivers of the Mercedes will be opting pilot the, well, not quite Silver Arrow, is it, coming into the next season. It's one that the drivers are probably going to use to get a feel for the new balance of performance. Obviously, iRacing changes the parameters of certain cars in the off-season before the start of the next one, and that can affect drivers' choices coming into whatever the season will be, the season 3 of the SRM GT4 Challenge. We aren't running any special balance performance either. We basically run off of whatever iRacing has on offer, as well, with the setups all being whatever I run on the iRacing official sprint setups. As again, I'm having the lovely camera. I don't think it's changed on my end, Chaz, for some reason, unfortunately, but regardless, you do have some excellent racing on display. But it's a shame that Christian Cerruto has actually dropped back from that fight for the lead, and if he can get back involved, it would be great for him. But looking at the lap times, he is dropping back, actually, potentially into the clutches of Lee Berridge.
Yeah, Lee Berridge is really flying here, using the straight line advantage of that BMW. And the thing is, if you've got that straight line advantage in the Beamer, you need to be able to make it work in the corners as well. That's the thing. You know, it's all well and good being able to make it go quick down a straight. Everyone can drive in a straight line, but at the same time, you have to make it work in the corners. I say everyone can drive in a straight line, but there was a BMW M4 driver on the weekend that proved that drivers can't drive in a straight line. Actually turned across the front of a Ferrari stupidly at Circuit of the Americas and wrote both cars off, and it was a really stupid incident, and it's been infuriating me all weekend. If you haven't seen it yet, even if you just keep this race on in the background now, just go and have a look at it. It was Circuit of the Americas, GT World Challenge America, side by side with a Ferrari 296. And he just keeps coming left on him. And eventually they hit, they bang wheels, it breaks the suspension of the Ferrari, puts it in the air, and both of them go flying into a barrier. It's one of the stupidest incidents I've seen in ages.
I remember seeing that. And it was
I just don't get it. Like,
no.
Why?
There was another one that was irritating me as well. That was at the N24 with the poor Dacia.
Oh, I know.
Getting absolutely mullered.
It got railed, didn't it?
It's going as fast as it could, bless it. It was staying over on the left-hand side of the track, and through goes literally almost through it, and takes them both out of the race. I think there was a poor little, was it an Elantra, a Hyundai that was
stuck behind
arriving on the scene and somehow managed to get through that unscathed.
I don't know.
It was ridiculous.
There's this big train of cars. Look at that. Then you've got Tim Perry in the middle of it as well in his Altitude Esports Mercedes. He's got Johnny Elia just behind him, tucking in, trying to tuck in anyway. And right now, kicking up a little bit of dust on the exit of the corner, going up the hill they go. Looks fantastic at this moment in time. There's a great battle going on between Mark Johnson and Stuart Clark as well. Mark's actually just got past Stuart. And right now, Rob Sutherland is behind him in the Aston Martin, tries to take advantage.
Cheeky.
Great move that is by Rob Sutherland. Oh, Stuart gets out of it though, turning in and through as well goes James Holman. So Rob Sutherland opens the door for his teammate, and James says, "Thanks very much, mate." And now, is he going to try and slipstream him down the start finish straight?
Fastest lap of the race, going the way of Christian Saruta. What were we just saying? That he needs to get a move on. I think he's been listening. He's just been spurred on to do the fastest lap out of anybody and clawing back away into this fight for the lead. What is the gap now between Simon Povey and Christian Saruta?
1.2.
If it is in around about 1.5 seconds, he's going to be in the slipstream now and definitely in with a fight for the lead of the race. There's, oh dear, what's gone on here? Toby Ward, careful with the rejoin. It's off of the exit of turn 1, I believe, I think.
Yeah, it is. With Charlie Stout, just goes down the inside and clips the inside of the Porsche. And he's in that unfortunate situation where he's the only one that gets stuffed up by it, to be honest with you, because sometimes you can just bounce off the inside of the outside car, if that makes sense, rather than sort of turning them around. You just sort of bounce off like you're not even an armour-piercing shell. As through goes James Holman, and now Stuart Clark wants a bit of redemption on Rob Sutherland. Oh, he's just driven into him. Just says, have a chunk of that, Rob. Cheers, mate. Wow.
I love it. Elbows out stuff there. I don't think it was too egregious, actually, by Stuart Clark. It looked like there might have been a bit of netcode in there. I'm not sure why the Aston Martin car ran it so violently to what didn't appear to be too heavy of a touch, even if there was one. But like you say, that was cheeky little move, a reply back almost by Stuart Clark. We'll have a look here at the inside.
Right,
there is a little move over to the left, actually, by Rob Sutherland as they go into the corner. Rob's trying to turn in to close the door. By that point, though, Stuart's broke late and committed to the inside, and they both sort of come into one another. I don't think there was anything really aggressive or anything from either drivers. They're both trying to do their best to hold on to the position or to take the positions, but like you say, I was glad that that didn't result in too big of an incident. Now, though, Christian Saruta is getting himself back into the mix. Slowly but surely, reeling in Lewis Ward and Simon Povey. Two McLarens leading the way, as they did for most of last season. But of course, as we saw last season, there was also the addition of the Mercedes that like to stick its nose into the fights and get involved in the form of Callum Brandt, who unfortunately, like you say, Chaz, at the start is not here for this event, but I believe is signed up for the next season of the SRM GT4 Challenge.
He has, and there's been a move here as well. Guy Edwards now goes up from 8th position on the grid into 4th place. He's got his teammate Dan Martin behind Lee Berridge in the towering BMW M4 GT4 right now. And this is going to be Lee's attack in response. He's actually pushing him down the back straight now. He's just saying, right, let's try and get away from these. I'm not going to bother fighting you. He's just going to sit behind. He's going to back off, get off the brakes, or onto the brakes early. He nearly climbs into the boot of the Mercedes, though. Behind, you've got Taylor Adams in the thick of this, watching as Johnny Elia climbs all over the back of Tim Perry as well. Mike Horder remaining patient throughout all of this. This is great racing by these guys, and to be honest, it's just going to be a case of patience throughout the whole race with these guys, because they could all be saving fuel right now and not knowing who wants to lead the way. But Guy Edwards, I feel, has sort of had no choice but to move forward here, you know, Ed. He's just had to go to the front of it just to see if there's anything more he can do in the twisty bits, I guess.
I think so. It's just, like you say, the BMW has its advantages and disadvantages. And look at this now. After the battling earlier on, Stuart Clark, he found himself shuffled back through the pack and is now trying to shuffle himself up the pack. And now a little cheeky look. Rob Sutherland very smartly backs out of that one, but that would have been the cheekiest of all moves if he slot up the inside. Obviously, I can see, thought better of it. It's tricky around here, especially with those cars all tightly packed together in that slipstream train. If they go for a move and it doesn't pay off, all of a sudden they've got about 5 cars breathing down their neck, take and slot themselves through, and then you get shuffled back through the pack, find yourself at the rear of the train when you could have been up at the front, which is, I think, the reason why we're also seeing the drivers playing it a little bit safer in that train in the top 10, mainly just to hang on to what they have, maybe the fuel save, and see what happens after the first round of pit stops, because that's when you can really see how the race is going to go after that first pit stop.
Yeah, that's it. They're just taking their time and trying to do what they can do in terms of saving fuels. No, Dan Martin and his teammate have made contact and they've gone around. I think Taylor Adams lost out in that as well, but Dan Martin was down the inside of his teammate, down the inside of Guy Edwards, and he's gone around. I think Taylor Adams actually maybe started this. I don't know. No, Dan Martin is down the inside of his teammate and hits him, and then there's Taylor Adams having to recover. Let's just have another look at this, shall we? Because it was Byron Crawford getting past Dan Martin. Oh, sorry, this was afterwards. My apologies. My apologies, everybody. Here we go. So Dan Martin goes past Lee Berridge. He's in the black and pink machine on the inside. Through past Guy Edwards. Oh, he just goes too hot. Just clips the back of his teammate. And then there is contact with Johnny Elia, but I don't think it damaged Johnny's car all that much. But now Dan Martin is down in 17th place and he's having to fight his way back through the pack. He's going to be driving angry now, so he needs to be careful not to overdo it. Mark Johnson and Rob Sutherland are now side by side. 2 Aston Martin drivers going at each other, and it's Mark Johnson that gets the move done and goes in front. But look at this.
Ahead of them throughout all of that as well, actually.
Yeah, he's definitely made ground. I was going to say, though, look at this from Christian Saruta. He is now 7/10 off the 2 cars in front for the lead. So a great comeback here for Christian. Really pushing on in that Mercedes. It would be great to see a Mercedes win here against the pairing of McLarens. Obviously, I have to remain unbiased for the fact that Simon is driving for my team. But still, it's great to see this scrap between different manufacturers as well. Lewis Ward, we know, is just rapid in that McLaren. He's one of the greatest drivers that we've seen in GT4 cars. And, of course, both of them, actually, the front 2 have both won championships here in the Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Challenge. Simon winning season 1.
This top 3. It's amazing, isn't it?
Disgusting, if anything. it's just, it makes me feel ill how quick they are.
How far we've come from season 1, eh?
Oh, yeah, everyone in season 1 was rubbish. But Guy Edwards is up in 4th place now. I love you all, honestly. We've got, all jokes aside, we've got such a great community here at SRM. I cannot praise it enough. It honestly is amazing. So many of them as well have come from the Porsche Club of Great Britain Sim Racing Series, and for that we are very grateful as well. And, the two go hand in hand very nicely. The guys over at PCGB are happy with Andy promoting the occasional event here and there on their Discord, and their drivers come over here to do the same, and it's great. It really is. There's so many wonderful people in it, and everyone just has a laugh. There'll be incidents and contact here after this. Everyone will apologise to each other. Everyone will just have a good laugh about it and a good giggle, and that's that's what it's all about. Look how narrow that Porsche looks there. The number 30 machine of Ralph Mayer looks very narrow in front of the wide Aston Martin and Mercedes of Martin Shirley here for RD Simsport. Thought we'd just look a bit further down the order, just see what some of the battles are like here. It's a little bit spread out, though, unfortunately, after these guys. I think it's a couple of drivers that have just been caught out in the early stages. That's how the field is spread at the moment. Our race leader is the number 1 car just in the middle of the shot here, chasing down car in 34th place, which is Russell Clark. And then you can see there's a big train all the way back from 12th to 21st. Is quite close, isn't it?
Yeah, like you say, there are gaps that have begun to emerge, but I'm glad to see the likes of Christian Saruta, after being shuffled back a little bit on account of what could have been a slowdown, got back into the fight. Wonderful to know that there is a way for the drivers to close back up, and you can see actually through Canada Corner, seems to be where he makes a lot of his ground up. He's very fast on the way into the corner. Curve's very noisy as we go on board. Just see though how much of the circuit they're all trying to use from edge to edge. Put on the power on the exit, the car's squirming around. The tyres do wear through relatively quickly around this circuit, just due to the high speed nature of the corners around here. Do run through the fuel quite quickly as well, just because of the percentage of the lap that you spend on full throttle. Gotta be careful of the traffic here, as Russell Clark needs to make less of a nuisance of himself, I think it's fair to say.
Yeah, he's trying to not hold them up too much by sitting in there. He's going to back out now, I think, and just get out of the way. Although we saw this in Formula 1 just last week, actually, a driver that was happy to move out of the way but didn't want to slow down, really, just sort of stayed at the same pace. But I think Russell knows what the score is here.
There we go.
Yeah, he gets out of the way, but look, there's a gap now of 8/10 between Lewis Ward and Simon Povey. He missed his braking point a little bit there, did Russell, but still doesn't cause any major dramas. At least we know this is a long race. If this was a sprint race, that probably would have been a different story, but right now we've got a pair of trios going on here, with Tim Perry sort of on his own in the middle of all of this. This is Taylor Adams, Byron Crawford in there as well. That's Jakub Szymanski just behind these guys in the gorgeous Alcantec NHR McLaren. But I think he got quite big damage in that first incident, didn't he? So he had to go into the pits.
I think you're bang on there, as I think we have one of our first scheduled pit stops actually. It's Oliver Carwadine. Appears to be on his way out of the pits a little bit early, but I don't think it's going to be too far flung for us to start seeing some pit stops come through, just due to the long nature of a lap around here. Lap 12, about where you'd expect the drivers to first start thinking about coming into the pits on their shortened tanks of fuel.
Well, yeah, we're 26 minutes into the race now, and you know, in the usual Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Challenge race, they do tend to start pitting just before the half-hour mark. We do tend to have 2 pit stops in our 1-hour races there, and this is a circuit that's a lot longer, like you say, Ed, with long straights as well, so you spend so much of the lap on full throttle that there's no real chance for you to sort of lift and coast that much. As Lewis Ward comes into the pits. Yeah, Lewis flying in the McLaren. Simon Povey and Christian Saruta have both carried on, so Lewis Ward out of the lead of the race in. Guy Edwards in as well. I think Lee Berridge came close to coming in, has gone over to the right hand side to get a bit of extra slipstream, and through he goes. But now we've got a mad dash for the pits. You'll see a lot of cars making their way down. It's a hellishly long pit lane here though, isn't it, Ed? And it's nice and wide as well to make it feel really slow all the way down.
Good call though for Lewis Ward, if he had an extra sort of lap of fuel in to come into the pits while he had that gap to Simon Povey on account of the traffic. Obviously Russell Clark trying the best that he could do. Still though, it did give Lewis Ward something to work with, so coming into the pits with that margin helps you on the way both in and out, not giving the drivers any slipstream as well. It's just all about where he finds himself coming out onto the track. If he can slot himself into a little gap, that'll be perfect for him, but it's very difficult to predict sometimes where you'll be emerging out onto the circuit, and I think he'll find himself just behind Pete Thickett.
Yeah, Pete goes through in the Porsche, and that puts Lewis Ward down in 21st place. He was stationary for 28.9 seconds, so about 30 seconds. Seems like the normal sort of pit stop time here. It's quite a long stop, if I'm honest with you. I wasn't expecting it to be quite that long. But then again, they are going to be probably changing tyres here, because like you said, Ed, this circuit really does scrub the tyres a lot, doesn't it? You know, it really does harm them. So you may as well take tyres, I think, just to keep your pace up, because if you try and do 2 26, 28-minute stints on a set of these tyres around here, they are going to feel awful. You know, they're going to start to go off that cliff. You may as well keep them at a point before they really start to die down for as long as possible in the race. You know, take the extra time in the pit lane to do it. Be interesting to see if there are any people that don't go for tyres. We'll certainly know if they don't.
Interestingly, from memory, and this is casting my mind back a little bit, it's been a while since I actually drove these cars, but you can take tyres at the same time as fuel. You can't take all 4, however, to do 50%. You can only do sort of a couple. So you might do either the fronts or maybe the outside tyres. It depends on how the circuit is and how sort of severely they've been worn. You don't tend to do all of them on one side because that can cause an imbalance. You either do the fronts. I don't think there's any circuits where you run the rears a little bit more. So we'll see what the drivers do coming into the pits. You'll imagine that there's a bit of a quandary going on of what they will do. I was all wondering what the best call will be, either to take tyres or to carry on the rubber, keep heat into them, and then obviously take all of the tyres at their second stop.
Wow, Simon Povey's only just got into his box now. That's how long it takes.
Up on its jacks. Lewis Ward is going through the final corner. I don't think so. I think we can see one of the BMWs there up being served. I think that's Lee Berridge.
Yeah, and Tim Perry is as well. I think Simon's car is actually, you know. Simon's car was. Saruta was not, by the look of it. Saruta sat there for a while longer as well, actually. Simon Povey gets going. Where's Lewis Ward? He's actually going to go straight past him here around the outside. Lovely frame rate into turn 1. Lewis Ward gets the lead and just swoops around Simon Povey, and there's a little bit of time in it now. We're going to go back to pit lane 2. Dare I? Frame rate. There's a lot of cars now making their way in and out of the pit lane all at the same time. There's Ben Gregory, Byron Crawford going through past these guys as well. The next car to come through would be Oliver Carwadine, but I think they've all got away with it. Lewis Ward there leading the race. It's 2.1 seconds now back to Christian Saruta. He's got it all to do again now, Ed.
He's done it before. He'll have to do it again, albeit with tyres that he's not been able to change. That does, of course, give him the slight advantage at the beginning of this stint because he's got the heat still there. Simon Povey's got to do all the work warming them back up. Even though he has slipstream, he might fall back into range of slipstream for Christian Saruta. Tim Perry here in 6th position. This train seems to be going strong. Obviously, the gaps have opened out a bit, but with the slipstream, they'll start to converge once more. Lee Berridge, though, up into 4th place. We saw him get shuffled back a little bit. I think he was overtaken by Guy Edwards, but since then, those positions have reversed themselves. And it is the BMW now up into the top 4.
We may get 4 pit stops here, Ed, because we're just about to hit 15.5 laps is quarter race distance. So if they can't even do a quarter without pitting, there's going to be a mad dash at the end. There's going to be about an 1/8 of the race where they will, they'd have to fuel save, and I don't think there's any chance of it around here, to be honest with you, with what the sort of pace these guys are doing. So there's going to be a mad dash at the end where they have a small pit stop, and it's going to be very short just for fuel. So it's going to be interesting to see who can make the most of that, I reckon.
I do remember, actually. I can't remember which round it was, but I do remember it was... I think Callum Brown and quite a few drivers actually did opt for one round to go for a race on just a single pit stop. There was nothing in the rules, obviously, to...
Hungaroring.
Drivers to... Is it Hungaroring, was it?
Yeah.
That was a heck of a round, because I remember there was a few teams that opted for it, and it created a lot of dramas at the end of drivers just being able to make it, others having to really fuel save on that final lap and lose out. It's absolutely mad, but it was great fun. It was something that I wonder if we'll see again this season, Chaz. Do you reckon we might find drivers opting for that excessive fuel saving, or
I think it depends on the circuit, because the Hungaroring was a very unique case. I don't think we're definitely not going to see that tonight. I know that for sure, because of how long the straights are and everything here. You can't risk losing that much time on an easy bit of time to gain. That's the thing, you know, you can, if you've got a very fast car and you know it feels really good underneath you and you can get it all sorted through the twisty stuff, then that's fine, because it means that you can make your time back up through those twisty bits. But if you're trying to save time just down a straight by not going flat out everywhere, it's somewhere that anybody can gain time on you there. You know, it's easy to just keep your foot pinned and make sure the car's as smooth as possible in a straight line. So it's not worth trying to save time down a straight. Maybe in the braking zone, yeah, but that's just the obvious one that a lot of people could try and do. Good battle going on here, though, with Dan Martin, Ben Bennyworth and Stuart Clark all together. The little Porsche at the front staying away from these very angry-looking machines, the BM and the Mercedes.
Just look at them all. The sounds as well of the different machines. We've got actually all 4 of them in one shot for a brief moment. We have Stuart Clark, Ben Bennyworth, Daniel Martin and Rob Sutherland there, all roughly sharing the same bit of track. Lovely, isn't it, to see very different shapes and sizes of GT4 car we have on the iRacing service. All out here. And like you say, it's weird that the Porsche looks so skinny, especially compared to the wide, brutish look of the Mercedes and also to an extent the Aston Martin.
Yeah, the Aston does look very wide in comparison. The Mercedes is really wide, but yeah, iRacing makes even the M4 look narrow. As down the inside goes Dan Martin. Great confidence on the brakes. Wow, he got that stopped really well. Runs a little bit wider than the other drivers around him, but still gets the move completed. Personal best by Simon Povey. That's what's keeping him in second place. Lewis Ward has also done a personal best. Don't forget Lewis started 5th on the grid as well and has moved up there into the lead. Lee Berridge started 7th. Guy Edwards started 8th. Who else has made good ground? We were looking at James Holman a minute ago. He's gained 6 places in this race so far. So too has Andrew Shepherd. And there's a quartet of drivers that have all moved through together. John Roberts, Heinz Mayer, Ralph Mayer, of course, and Toby Ward have all gained 4 places each as this little quartet. So the 2 Mayers right together on the circuit in this gorgeous Orris Digital and Crockery Direct livery, the Orris Racing Machine. They're all running different colours tonight. So Heinz is running in the red car, Ralph in the purple car, and Kim Such, their teammate, who's just come into the pits, is running the green car. That's a lovely flying formation family photo if I've ever seen one between these pairs. Just don't hit each other, boys. Ralph goes down the inside. Thought he'd gone a little bit hot into there. Toby Ward gets a good run, actually, on Heinz. Number 66 McLaren running a variation of the car Ben Gregory is driving. Toby looks down the inside. No, nothing this time round. Tries to make sure that he gets a good run on the exit instead.
Just seeing, though, Ralph Meyer and Heinz Meyer again on the same bit of circuit. I mean, they could stop accounts and you wouldn't be able to tell who was who. They're always on the same bit of track together. They qualified basically nearly the same lap times, both sharing a lane on the grid. It's just, I've never seen 2 drivers this similarly matched over the course of an entire season in the midfield.
Yeah, it's pretty fantastic.
Usually it's all over the place, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. They and the fact that they're related as well, it's just like,
Yeah.
It is literally like a complete family connection. Although I've only just noticed at this moment in time, Heinz has put himself down as United Kingdom, while Ralph has still got his South African flag. Although I happen to know that Heinz has gone back to South Africa for a while, and I hope he's doing all right over there. He's a lovely bloke, is Heinz Mayer. He's a real big supporter of SRM and of my work as well. Like I've said, he's a really, really lovely bloke. I was just chatting to him earlier on today and he was saying that they were looking forward to this event, and certainly they love getting involved with all of this. You know, they love putting the logos on all of the events for us and they just love the involvement. You know, it's a really good community, like I say, and they are some of the real highlights of it, the Mayers. Lee Berridge is hoping that he's going to be a highlight of this race, and he is being so far, because he's wrangling this BMW around so well with this absolute haul of Mercedes behind him. There's so much Alfalterback waiting to just try and nip past him at this point. We've got RD Simswart, Guy Edwards, Tim Perry from Altitude, Regenta Sim Racing's Taylor Adams, and then Johnny Elia in the 11/10 car just behind as well. So 4 different teams, 4 different drivers, and you can see Mike Horder in the background there has dropped off this a little bit. Oliver Carwadine's just had a bit of a moment through turn 1, manages to get away with it though and regain a place. There is a move. I say regain a place there, didn't I, for Carwadine? Apologies, I just meant to sort of regain control. Taylor Adams has gone down the inside of Guy Edwards. Tim Perry wants a piece of it, says thanks very much. Guy Edwards now still a place ahead of where he started the race, but now under pressure from Johnny Elia. Nearly a bit of contact there as they go through the hurry downs. Oh, he has to back out of it there as he has a bit of a slide, does Johnny. Scary moment that, to be fair, Ed. We're over a quarter of the way through this race now, and we've been going for 38 minutes.
Well, time has certainly flown by here. Through the carousel now, and with Johnny Elia, you can just hear guiding the car through on the throttle before picking it up midway through, and you're then essentially full throttle before you get to the kink. You lift it through, coast it in, get on the power yet again, all the way towards Canada Corner. Slipstream does mean that drivers have to adjust their braking points due to the extra speed they're carrying. We've seen people get caught out through there many an occasion. It seems to be A-OK. Out in front, Lewis Ward going on strong, but Simon Provey is not letting him get away with things too easily. A pair of them are starting to open out sizable, certainly a sizable gap now actually to Christian Saruta. Yeah, now 4 seconds.
Heinz Mayer is doing what he can to separate himself from Ralph Mayer at this point. He's just a little bit of an off on the exit of the carousel. Not sure if he's got something going on at the moment. It's almost like he's distracted at this point because the car isn't sort of taking perfect racing lines. He seemed fine a little moment ago, but then I think he's been a little bit sort of moving around a bit more than I would have thought. Not sure if he's got something going on, but hopefully all is good. But we've got... Oh, well, Ralph Mayer says, no, let's bring us back together. He's been in the wall, unfortunately. Big damage. Let's have a look what happened. Honestly, like, they're so connected. They both make a mistake around the same time. Oh, just clips the gravel and biff into the tyre wall. That was a big old hit, that, wasn't it? Really big hit.
Anything Heinz can do, Ralph can do more dramatically. It appears as a big hit into the wall. Does the car have any damage? It doesn't look like it's covered. It's just obviously a bit of front-end damage and bodywork pain more than anything else, as they're squeezing his way through. Martin Shirley up into 24th place. And then look at the car behind. Pete Thickett. Is he going to get one over on Heinz Meyer as well? Squeezes Heinz to the inside. Goes all the way around the outside at turn 1. Lovely little move there by Andrew.
Yeah, indeed. He just gets it squeezed around the outside, and clearly Ralph's car not too badly damaged at this point. I suppose you've got to try and at least give it a lap, haven't you, and just see what it's like around the whole circuit, because you may lose a little bit of time in 1 or 2 corners, but it not be that bad in the long run. We've got a pit stop completed by everybody, as you would have seen by now on the left-hand side of your screen. And there are the gaps currently. Lewis Ward only half a second ahead of Simon Povey, but they have got a decent gap over the cars behind. As off the road there went Guy Edwards for just a moment. He's just recovered, but Johnny Elia is going to get a bit of a run on him down in towards Canada Corner at the bottom of the hill. We're still getting that flash of green foliage there for just a moment.
Tell you what, looking at the most recent laps, Mike Horner's getting a good shift on now. Close up to this little battle. 15.87 compared to the 17s and 16s of the cars ahead. So he's certainly motoring along, is Mike Horner in the boosted motorsport McLaren. Obviously going to be seeing a bit more representative of the times when drivers come up to the line. He's certainly gaining at the moment.
Yeah, he's definitely putting some great times in right now, really putting a solid effort in to make sure that he gets back up to the rear end of that fight. Stuart Clark here in car 34 with Ben Bennyworth and Rob Sutherland just behind. Ben Bennyworth in the BMW, Rob Sutherland in the Aston Martin for RD Simsport. Again, this is a point where Stuart Clark is begging that they just leave him alone in that skinny little Porsche. Then you've got the slightly wider BMW and then the Aston. Look at it here from this front-facing shot. You can see just how wide the Aston looks here. It's got the sound to go with it as well, a big beefy machine in its chunky V8 engine. Ben Gregory is close to, well, actually close to James Holman by the look of it. There is James in the number 35 RD Simsport Porsche. He wants to try and sneak his way through. It makes the Porsche look tall, doesn't it, the McLaren? Such a swooping, beautiful, low, very traditional supercar shape is the McLaren. The Porsche mid-engined rather than being rear-engined as the road cars are. Looks over to the right-hand side now, tries to get a cutback. Then again, the GT4 version of the road car is actually a mid-engine car. As down the inside now goes James Holman. That's his real racing experience paying true there. Fantastic stuff by James. Gets the move done on Ben Gregory. And now he's going to try and break away before he gives Ben any slipstream from this point forward.
That was textbook stuff, wasn't it, by James Holman to get the move done nice and cleanly. Ben Gregory played his part, tried to fight it, but didn't do anything too reckless, didn't do anything untoward, and obviously the move gets done nice and cleanly. They're both trying to focus on closing up to Byron Crawford now and see if they can get themselves into the top 10. At the moment, though, Byron Crawford is sadly in a little bubble of his own. He's about 5 seconds ahead of James Holman and 5 seconds back from Mike Horder in just perfect little bubble that's emerged for the 11/10 Racing Aston Martin. Lovely livery, though, on that car. Looking forward to seeing more of it.
I have been corrected actually in the YouTube chat by Max Wobbles. Yeah, all the Caymans are mid-engine, aren't they? I thought some of them are rear-engine, but it's just the 911s that are rear-engine, isn't it? So my apologies, but yes, you are absolutely right, Max. And yeah, I even had a quick look back because I wasn't confident on it, so I did start googling it as well, just as I saw your comment coming. So I'm very sorry, everybody. I pretend to know what I'm on about, but I just don't. I really don't. Anyway. Hopefully these guys know.
Pay attention to Porsches. They usually put the engine in the wrong place anyway, so I pay them no mind. Engine in the back. What are you thinking about?
Oh, it'd be a shame if half of the grid was from Porsche Club of Great Britain, wouldn't it?
Yeah, they know and they love me for it.
Well, we've got Johnny Elia now in the Mercedes making a big old grunt down the back straight. And he's currently just got his eyes on Guy Edwards in front of him, hoping to make moves, as there is a move there actually. Tim Perry down the inside of Taylor Adams. Oh, you could see the canard break the edge of the frame there as he came into shot. Tim Perry down the inside. Oh, he's just gone over to the right a little bit too much on the way into the corner. These cars do have a tendency to move around quite a bit on the brakes. Getting away with it. Guy Edwards is going to slot in behind now. Johnny Elia is going to be right with him. Fantastic quartet of Mercedes here, really showing us what good racing is all about. There's a little bit of contact here and there, but they're surviving and getting away with it, aren't they? This is like touring car stuff between these guys. Mike
Horder, he's going to be rubbing his hands together when he gets the chance, because he's going to gain on this battle all the while they are battling. He's, like you say, very tricky with these cars under the brakes. They do seem to be a little bit squirrely and wiggling around when you properly stamp on the pedal. Try and stop the thing. It's got a lot of car to stop, to be fair, in the Mercedes, isn't there? So you can see it strains and struggles so often. Tyres crying out for mercy as well down into Canada corner. But won't be getting any mercy for the next 6 or even 8 laps, depending on when the drivers came in earlier on.
Let's see what the slipstream is like now, shall we? Down the start, finish straight. Johnny Elia tucked in. There's the blimp up above, the iRacing blimp. Johnny Elia. Oh, it's gorgeous, isn't it? 4 litre, I believe it's a turbocharged V8 in the Mercedes. And Christopher Smith asking me if the Airbus 280 is a mid-engine. The Airbus 280 doesn't exist, Chris. Come on, don't wind me up. But no, honestly, guys, you know, I'm not one of these people. I don't get offended by the fact that you're correcting me. You know, it's you know the information I don't. I don't want to be giving out wrong information. Yeah. Oh, whoa. I don't want to give out incorrect information. I appreciate the feedback, lads, honestly, and I hope you're enjoying the show. You know, it's nice to have the comments coming in either way. Really hope you're enjoying the stream so far. We're on lap 21 out of 62 here in the Sim Racing Magazine events. Road America 400 kilometres. As down the inside goes Tim Perry on Lee Berridge. Lovely move, and look at that by Taylor Adams. He says, go on then, I'll have a bit of that and all. He goes down the inside. Hopefully doesn't repeat what Tim Perry did before, and no, he keeps the space on the outside. Tasty stuff by these guys. Great racing.
Really nice. Yeah, I meant to say, not like Pete McKaisen, we don't have the encyclopedic knowledge.
Oh, not that we get offended.
Not that we get offended, no. It was about the more the knowledge part, Chaz. Not to worry there. No, we love Peter McKay. It's just he's got such an incredible brain on him, and it's annoying. He's damn good at commentating as well to link up with it. Yeah, usually people have one or the other.
Yeah, Peter's one of those people that's annoyingly good at everything. Like, we absolutely love him for it, and he's
apart from keeping control of his language, but that's probably because he's Scottish.
Yeah,
when he joins in the broadcast, it seeps out of him sometimes, but we love him for it.
That interview was one of the best interviews we've ever done. It was absolutely hilarious. Back at Hockenheim in the what event was it?
Oh, was it the Dynamics Endurance Series?
It was, yes. Flipping heck, that was fair play, lad. That was fast. It was the Dynamics Endurance Series, yes, on Sim Racers World TV a long, long time ago now. But yeah, we interviewed Peter, and he said that he was in his Scooby-Doo pyjamas enjoying the race, but he said that he made a rather pathetic effort of his stint, but said it in much more expletive words. I just want to highlight that someone that's not making a pathetic effort right now is Lewis Ward and Simon Povey. They've just both done their fastest laps of the race. 2:15.05 for Lewis Ward, 2:14.98 for Simon Povey, and that's a lot faster than the 2:15.82 of Christian Saruta. Christian is pushing this Mercedes like mad, but he's not able to keep up with the guys in front. He's getting away from Tim Perry and the gang behind because they're all battling now. So if you want a podium spot, boys, you need to stop it, and you need to hope for having some dramas in front, really. Thanks very much, Chris, by the way, in the YouTube chat, saying all good, having fun, loving the fab commentary as always. Really, really glad you are, Chris. Looking forward to seeing how you get on in the next championship. It's actually Chris, wasn't it, Ed, at the Hungaroring that formulated the plan to have a single stop in the BMW there as well, and he managed to get Callum Brandt on that as well. So a great, great job by them. Look at that big send down the inside by Johnny Elia. Great respect from Guy Edwards, though, to give him the space. But look at the time they've lost. If they carry on battling, it's only going to get worse. Guy Edwards back down the inside, says, nope, right, if you're going to compromise us, let's do it properly. He goes back down the inside. Fantastic bit of racing from these two. Mike Horder's only 2 and a bit seconds back there in the McLaren. He could definitely close in. He did a 2:15.8 last time compared to the 2:16.3 that Johnny Elia did. So he's certainly on the move as well. Great stuff, this. It's not... it's a little bit spread out at this point. It's a long, long race. Still plenty of time left to go. But there's still awesome battles going on wherever we look. We've got this little trio as well. As down the inside goes Rob Sutherland on Stuart Clark. Stuart goes a little bit deep into turn 6. The two of them are together now through the hurry downs. I'm loving it. There's loads of good GT4 racing going on, which we've seen from the championship before.
Yeah, it's fair to say as well, I think Chris's driver who we sort of love for the recovery drivers, is it? Master of the recovery drive, Christopher Smith, from some of the performances he's been able to pull off all season long, and we're looking forward to seeing what more amazing drives they'll be able to pull out of the bag. To have a great little fight here. I think that was Toby. We're just ahead, I think, just getting ahead of the Gallant Pro Aston Martin, and I have to say, this Gallant Aston Martin does look really nice. The purple and yellows with the white, quite understated, but looks a lot like what you'd see on a real race car. Just understated, but going so well together.
Yeah, for sure. It's it's all about, with a livery, just sometimes less is more. And there are
the shape of the car.
Yeah, absolutely. You've got to really benefit the shape of the car. That's why it's difficult when you're a team manager or a team owner here in sim racing, and you've got so many cars to paint. They're all different shapes and sizes, different sort of different dimensions and different sort of rate. I can't think of the word, but Fausto Pinto's in the wall. We know that much. He's just got a little bit too hot into Canada corner. I think he's
the
bent
contours.
The proportions. That's it. That's it.
Disproportion now, though. Unfortunately, those lovely little arcs and curves of the Aston Martin have been sadly dented, as has the suspension. The car is not playing ball at all, and that is going to be going to be a quick trip to the pits. Oh dear, no. He was trying to do the right thing and stay out of the way, but then the car behind was caught in 2-1s, didn't know which way that car was going. Martin Shirley not going into the pits, though, doesn't seem to have suffered too much damage. It was a very violent impact, to be fair. Fausto Pinto, we'll have a look coming back out onto the circuit. I think in behind it looks like going to go to the pits, but just caught in 2 lines.
Yeah, absolutely. Martin wanted to go over to the right, and then he was going to go over to the left, and then all of a sudden, that was it. And it's not going to be an easy thing for him to swallow that one. Fausto Pinto might be a bit frustrated by it, but you can see, look, he's going over to the right, knows there's a car, so he thinks, right, stay left. It's just... I wouldn't have said there was anything Martin or Fausto could have done about that. They both wanted to do the right thing, and like you say, it was just a bit of miscommunication in the end, wasn't it?
Yeah, it looks like, obviously, when the car is rejoining from Fausto Pinto, that obviously it's not what the car should be doing, is going across the circuit, but that's what Martin Shirley seems to feel like just from the angle of the car as it rejoins. But Fausto straightens it out, keeps the left, as is what you should do in a situation when you're rejoining. And it is just one of those unfortunate incidents, but luckily Seems like Martin Shirley's able to carry on relatively unscathed. I'm not sure what damage that's done to the front end, if there's anything to do with top speed deficits or anything like that before the next pit stop. Obviously, fast repairs are available for the drivers, only the one, so that will probably get taken at the next pit stop by Martin. Meanwhile, out in front, it continues to be Lewis Ward leading ahead of Simon Povey. These pair continuing to work together to extend their advantage over third placed Christian Saruta, who again is having a fairly lonely time of things. Cars too far ahead, cars too far behind. He just needs to do the best that he can to, at any chance, maybe keep himself in the mix. Should Lewis Ward and Simon Povey begin to fight and slow each other down, he'll be right there to gain and get himself back into the picture. Plenty of time still remaining in the race. We're not even at half distance, so it isn't over yet for Christian.
We've had a few battles going on further down here, actually. Had Tom Weston and Stefan Mellis.
Away, isn't it?
These two have been swapping places time and time again. Tom Weston and Stefan Mellis, the Belgian driver. Tom racing for Scalant Pro Driving, going around the outside. Oh, naughty there on the exit of turn 5 up towards turn 6. Stefan just ran him out of room, hoping that the overlap wasn't quite there at that point. But unfortunately, it was. We've got Ben Gregory here just behind Byron Crawford. Whoa, that is Tom Weston. Tom Weston in the middle of the road there, and Stefan Mellis have both gone off track here. So, again, as soon as we look away from something, there's drama. Is Stefan going to lose it and Tom get involved? No, Tom's done it separately. He has an off. He's in the barrier. And then I think Stefan's going to have his own off here, maybe, on the exit. It said he went off separately.
There's two.
I don't know what's happened.
Is it through the kink, maybe? Just running a little bit wide?
Yeah, potentially. Oh, yeah, he's turning late there. Yeah. Oh, good job. Good job of not completely spinning that. Let's have a look at what happened to Tom Weston. Yeah, pin it, son.
Out of it. It's, just over rotation. I think a little bit too much throttle.
Oh, he got shafted by the wall there, didn't he?
Yeah, really caught it at the awkward point.
But how does it end up where it was? Because he was facing left. Does he clip the grass here and loop it again? Oh, he does.
Oh, dear me.
Oh, Tom.
And then it's... Oh.
Whoa. And then Fausto Pinto's had a drama, I'm afraid. And the other... Oh, my goodness me.
Oh, that is a big drama.
Yeah, I was going to say, how is he...
No, he's carried on going from the incident earlier on.
I think he's left the pits and it's not been repaired.
Oh. Did he not have the fast repair checked?
Mustn't have done. No, it's not repaired the car, has it, when he's been in the pits? That's devastating.
I would have thought that would have at least held him there, because obviously if you have a meatball, which that should have, it forces you to take a certain amount of repairs.
That's really strange. It doesn't say that he crashed other than that, though. It said...
See?
No, it says he went in the pits and then... Yeah, after the Martin Shirley incident, he was in the pits and he was there for a couple of minutes. And then all of a sudden... Yeah, had that accident. It's really strange. Carwadine in the pits. He was the first one to pit earlier. We've had fastest lap of the race by Tim Perry on that previous lap. 2:14.91 for him, so he's on a mission. Dan McCauley in the YouTube chat. Good to see you, mate. Hope you're doing well. Dan was racing in the Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Challenge Season 2 and is going to be back for Season 3. Apex Racing Team only just missing out on the Teams Championship from RD Simsport. And to be honest, Ed, with multiple drivers from both teams coming back into the series again, I'm really excited to see what that Teams Championship battle is like.
Try to remember, was it a single point, I think, between RD Simsport and Apex Racing Academy? I don't think there was a lot in it from the two. I'm trying to rack my brains.
It was like
now,
7 points or something, daft. Tiny gap.
Yeah, it wasn't big at all. And when you consider how closely they were all season long, it was great to see it come right down to the wire. Simon Povey inherits the lead of the race on account of Lewis Ward making his second pit stop of the evening. So I think you are right in your estimation of us getting at least 4 stops, Chaz, as they come into the pits now to start their second one, and we haven't hit halfway through the race yet.
Nope.
Tim Perry carries on, does have a little bit of traffic management. This onto the jacks is a Lewis Ward, so definitely taking tyres. Will it be all four, or is it just the fronts? Not entirely sure yet. As the sun is setting, the track is cooling down, which does help out. And I think it was just a couple of tyres that time because the car is still taking on fuel after going back down off of the jacks and off it rolls. And finds a lovely little gap to slot himself into now.
Yeah, he's got a decent gap back to John Roberts, who's just coming down the start-finish straight, and he's got a good 6 seconds ahead to Rob Sutherland. So he's back in clear air again, which is very important. He's not got to worry about battling through back past anybody. We've still got a battle going on in the mid-pack here, which is, wrong car, Ben Bennyworth, Stuart Clark and Rob Sutherland still together. But now it's Bennyworth that leads Clark and Sutherland. These three have been right together for a long, long time. And in the background there, is that Weston or is that Pinto that is driving along? I think it's Weston. Tom Weston's going, but he's got very similar damage to what his teammate had a little bit earlier on. He's just going to be hoping to get that car around to finish the stint, I guess, and then get it into the pits, isn't he?
Looks like it shouldn't be too much longer, obviously, as we've just had the race leader in, and then about the lap or so after, we get the whole rest of the field piling on in. Looking at the moment, Tim Perry ahead of Adams in fourth. Lee Berridge did find himself up into what was fourth position. Obviously, looking out of the pit stops, will be in sixth. Simon Povey, though, coming into the pits now from the lead of the race. Will Christian Saruta follow him through, or has the third positioned Mercedes been able to save enough fuel? Yes, he has. So this could be helpful for the final stint to have a slightly shorter one and gain a little bit of time through the pit lane.
Well, we're going to...
Christian Saruta finds himself in the lead of the race for the first time this evening.
Yes, he does. The Mercedes going very, very well for Pilifi Racing. And I know right now that Christian is going to be in his element flying through here. He flashes Russell Clark. He jumps out of the way very nicely. And through goes the number 22 machine. Now he's got a lot of clear air in front of him now. No back markers for a while. I think he's definitely going to be coming in on this next lap because we've found it very difficult, or at least the drivers have found it very difficult, to save fuel for more than one lap here. It's not a circuit where you could do sort of maybe 3 or 4 more laps in the cars around you and save a lot of fuel. You can only really save 1 lap, if that, if you end up with a bit of slipstream. Taylor Adams has carried on, by the way. Let's see where Lewis Ward is here, because Simon Povey is leaving the pit lane. There he is behind us, and wow, it's a big old gap actually this time for Lewis Ward. He's really opened that up, has he? No, Simon's in front of him. What?
Yeah, I was about to say, sorry.
I thought he was there was like a glimpse of a car just leaving the pit lane, but Simon's in front of him. I'm so sorry, everyone. Oh, that was Tom Weston off the road. Tom's got in the wall. And was the wheel completely straight there? It didn't look like that was... Yeah, it didn't look like it was behaving itself, was it? Let's just have a look.
It has not been a good 10-15 minutes for Scalant Pro driving, has it?
It's been Scalant no driving at the moment.
Oh, and I think it will be, maybe, for the rest of the race, because unless they've both taken their fast repairs and are having to...
Oh, dear.
Have lengthy damage, there might be no more driving for them.
And it's even more insult to injury that they're both sat right together in the pit lane as well.
No.
It's not a great sight for the team.
Sadly, at the battered and bruised Aston Martins, we were just praising their lovely livery, and then they go and
scrape it,
get scrapes and dents all in it.
Saruta in, Christian Saruta in here. Dan McCauley saying in the chat, I thought you'd have been all over this. How come you've not entered, Chris? Maybe he's a specialist on 1 hour races, not 2.5. But Christian Saruta comes down the pit lane now. Tim Perry and Lee Berridge were right together, and I assume these two will be very pleased to be still battling at this point, able to give one another a bit of slipstream here and there. We'll show you how the pit stops are at the moment, who has pitted how many times, and it's literally Saruta and Adams that have not pitted the second time round. Andrew Shepherd as well, and Pete Thickett. Pete Thickett was involved in an incident at the very start of the race, though, so he's sort of a bit out of kilter with the rest of the field in terms of the pit stops. So he's gained a bunch of places here, but right now he's just going to be running his race. That's the thing in this situation. You can't over-assess where everybody is when you are sort of out of sync with pit stops. You have to just do what you can do. Wait for this. There should be. Oh, there's a car off. Yeah,
That was, oh my word, is it still able to keep going in a straight line? I'm not sure who that is. Is that Dan Martin? It is. Oh
Yeah.
my word, that was scary stuff. All the way around the outside. The car was twitching like anything on the grass.
I'm glad you saw it, 'cause we didn't.
I mean, how he was able to keep it going and not hit anyone and not get speared back into the path of danger. Look at this, all the way around the outside, just squeezed a little bit. And then look at the car, massive twitch there. How he's able to hang on to that, I have no idea. Oh, new race overalls, please, for I think all three of them, because that is scary stuff.
Absolutely. Dan Martin carrying on then with a hole blown in his seat. Byron Crawford sat behind him now in the Aston Martin, thinking, flipping heck, I don't want to see that again. I want to get in front of that and disappear off up the road. But right now, everyone has completed 2 stops as of this point in time, and it's Simon Povey for Spontex CDM Esports in the new livery, leading the way in the heavy-duty Scourer livery in this rough, shiny turquoise colour with all the sparkles. He's certainly put in a clean performance so far, you could say, Ed, with Lewis Ward certainly doing a good job for Apex Racing Academy.
You're doing this deliberately now, Chaz. As soon as the YouTube chat is starting to call you out for your puns, you're pulling them out of nowhere now.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You've got to. You've got to. Why not? I've not got any more lined up, but why not?
Figure out when they come, but obviously we've got another half of the race to go, everybody, so strap in. It'll be a good time, I'm sure, but for now, like you say, it's been an excellent opening 28 laps. Byron Crawford for 11 Tenths Racing, just behind the Audi Sim Sport Mercedes. It's good to get a little preview of the paint jobs that are going to be run this season. The 11 tenths, both the Aston Martin and the Mercedes, looking very nice, I will say. As well, though, the brand new boosted paint job for 2023, looking good all across the board. Got Lee Berridge in the BMW. Not sure if that's what he's going to be rocking for the rest of the season. You've got John Roberts as well in the... having a big moment, actually, in the Mercedes. We catch him just at the right moment, out in front. I think you've noticed it as well. Fastest lap of the race so far for Simon Povey, who's pushing that hard that he's also doing a little bit of rallycross and still continuing to extend his lead of the race. And if you can bring it to, I want to say, the 1.8 second bracket, he will be thoroughly and well and truly out of slipstream range. I don't think that will be the case, though, as Lewis Ward is reeling him in, getting back down to 1.5 seconds.
Right now, Guy Edwards is pushing hard to try and stay with Taylor Adams. He's got 1.3 seconds back to Mike Horder, who is the pink and white McLaren just back here, because the car between them is Russell Clark in the number 15 Rusty's Roast Racing Porsche. He's having a bit of a lonely race of his own at the moment, I'm afraid, after drama at the start of the race. He got hit by Jakub Szymanski in the early stages. Car's wiggling around a little bit as well. I think he might have a bit of damage there. Either that or he's just got really sensitive steering. Christopher Smith says that he's focusing his energy on the Porsche Cup. He says it's damn hard work learning that car. That's why he's not been driving the GT4s as of late. But right now, the race continues on. We've had an off slightly, a moment for Simon Povey, which I think we might have just caught a moment ago, actually, as he pushed on. That counted as him going off the circuit, apparently. Oh, yeah, he stayed on the grass for a little bit there.
Yeah.
Yep. Just having that wiggle. Guy Robertson has had a couple of moments off the road for Mupar Gaming. And, just clips the grass, and, it's a concrete barrier, and it's very unforgiving. Luckily, the BMW is built like a tank, and it just bounces off like nothing ever happened. Taylor Adams, though, what a good race he's having as well in the Cystic Fibrosis Trust livery. It is Cystic Fibrosis Awareness Month, and as somebody with cystic fibrosis, Taylor obviously wants to fly the flag and run the cause, and it's lovely to see it. And hats off to him. He's putting in a fantastic performance so far. Started 9th on the grid, up into 6th place. Hopefully a top 5 on the cards for him. Rob Sharp in the chat. Great to see you, Rob. Hope you're doing really well, my friend. We love Rob. Rob's a fantastic, fantastic bloke, and a real stalwart of the Sim Racing Magazine GT4 challenge as well. He says he's loving the new colour scheme on Simon's Spontex car. Yeah, Simon came to me with the idea of having a turquoise or teal car, based on the fact that a lot of the Spontex branding, Spontex, a cleaning company here in the UK, they have this teal colour on their scourers and a lot of their packaging for like sponges and mops and things. And Simon loved it and said, why don't we do a teal car and put some of the sparkles all over it? So as a bit of a surprise for him, I made it metallic as well, obviously to follow on with the clean theme. And it's actually turned out pretty alright, to be fair. It's not usually a colour combination you'd go for, with teal with blue and red bits on it and maybe some yellow here and there, but I think it works and it looks quite tidy. It's just a bit different, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. You're not going to miss him in the grid, are you? You're going to pick that one out right away. It looks really nice.
Nice and shiny.
Cracking job there.
Thank you.
Nice and shiny indeed. But we've got still that lovely Apex Racing Academy car closing in on Simon. He did extend the gap, but I think on the last lap it was a gap that was eaten into just a touch by Lewis Waters. Look at this. Lovely little move up the inside as Edwards on Adams. And the Corvette Bridge is the Magenta Sim Racing that has to settle for 7th for the moment. But we are approaching half race distance, nearly 200 kilometers done of the Road America 400 kilometers. We are past, oh god, what was the maths I worked out? I think 750,000 Colin the Caterpillars. Those are a million Collins.
Yeah,
yeah.
For those of you that weren't here at the very start, there was a miscommunication when Martin Kenyon asked for a certain song for Ed May to sing in the YouTube chat when we had Radio Ed May in the early stages, because I had to fix one of our cameras, which is still a little bit broken, unfortunately. And yeah, it seemed like he was asking for how long the circuit is in cake, but no, it was actually the distance in cake or something, which is a song which I've never heard of. But Simon Povey does another fastest lap, but Ed actually went out of his way to find out how many Colin the Caterpillars it takes to draw Road America, and it was a ridiculous
1,428,571 Colin the Caterpillar cakes and a half.
That half is important, very important.
That's mine and yours to have after the race, mate.
Yeah, indeed. Indeed. Well, I've been informed that we might have a lovely little surprise here in the commentary box in just a moment, Ed, because we're going to have a look at the Apex Racing Academy car of Lewis Ward. And I think in just a moment's time we may be able to have a chat with Dan McCauley from Apex Racing Academy, who has offered to jump in while he's got nothing to do with his evening and have a quick chat with us about the upcoming Season 3 of the Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Challenge. Are you there, Dan?
I am indeed.
You sound like you're out and about on your phone.
I am on my AirPods trying to improve the quality rapidly, but it doesn't seem to happen.
Well, it sounds absolutely fine. First off, how are you? Are you missing the GT4s watching tonight?
Absolutely gutted. I'd love to have got involved in this, but I broke my elbow being a child last week, so I'm having to sit this one out.
Yeah, Dan's taken up BMXing again recently, something he used to do a long time ago, and yeah, a few weeks in has broken his elbow. But funnily enough, actually, Dan, it was on the same day that a driver in our series also bought a BMX out of nowhere, completely unrelated.
Yeah, and I'm kind of hoping he's going to break his elbow, judging by the pace he's got in this race.
Yeah, Simon Povey bought himself a BMX recently as well, just as Dan got back into it as well. It's the stars are aligning, aren't they, Dan? But what about Lewis Ward? He's going all right in this race so far at the halfway point, still keeping Simon honest, and as a reigning champion, you've got to sort of show this sort of pace, haven't you, really? You can't take your foot off the gas.
I tell you what, it's a really interesting dynamic that's going on here, because in the first stint you've seen that, Lewis tried to lead from the front, as he loves to do, and Simon, as he's reluctant to do, saved fuel behind him, and it seems that it's almost gave him enough of a gap that they can both break away. But it's just going to be who's got the patience to actually save that little bit of fuel now, or who's just going to go flat out. I know they both hate fuel saving, and they both love giving it 100%. So yeah, it's going to be. I don't think this gap's going to be this size at the end, put it that way.
Yeah, it's definitely one that could very quickly close down once again. Traffic's not really a massive issue either around here at Road America, is it? Because of the wide straights and the long runs that you can get on each other, there's plenty of time to navigate around it, isn't there?
I think, judging by the pace difference, it's definitely going to be a factor, but, as the SRM guys always drive really courteously, as you've just seen with the BMW there, it's I don't think it's going to have a negative effect on the race. I think it might, there might be a couple of tenths, give or take each lap, each car, but I don't think it's going to be a race deciding factor.
And what can we expect from you in Season 3? I mean, I know that we've got to wait for your elbow to heal up, but even if you don't get the full campaign in and we still see you for the sort of latter parts of the season, do you think you can still challenge for victories and podiums like last season?
I think sort of, judging by some pre-season testing that myself and Lewis done, I'm a lot closer to him now after the tweaks to the car. So I'm hoping that I can push him around a little bit more and try and iron out a lot of the mistakes that I was making, especially in the pit stops. I think last season was a good dip my toe back in the water of sim racing after some time away from it. And this year's going to be, let's see if we can bring the challenge to Simon. And I think that the team's championship got ripped away from us at the last round last year, so hopefully we can secure that for the team. That'd be a good one. The academy team doesn't seem to have won a championship yet, so if me and Lewis could be the first ones to do that, that'd be good.
Yeah, well, we certainly look forward to seeing how you get on with it, Dan. It's going to be a really good season, mate. Thank you very much for jumping in, and enjoy the rest of your evening. And we look forward to seeing you soon, and obviously hope your elbow gets better very quickly, mate.
Cheers, guys. Can't wait for these last 30 laps.
See you in a bit.
See ya.
There we go then, Dan McCauley finishing, as I look at the results from last season, right up there pretty much in the Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Challenge. Ed, he was certainly a contender through most of the season, led races, put it on pole as well at Monza, eventually finished 7th in the championship, but he was right in amongst it with the likes of Matthias Tem, Rob Sharp, Mike Horder, Christopher Smith as well. So it was a really strong season for Dan, but like he said, he was dipping his foot back in the water, wasn't he, to just see how he could get on with the rest of the season and improve from there.
Yeah, exactly. It was just a season where obviously we saw McCauley get involved for the first time. Lewis Ward was obviously there for the latter half of season 1, so he had that experience already, which I think was the reason why he became, I guess, the main driver to score points for that team. And I think now season 3 is one that's come at a very difficult time for Dan, obviously with his injury, but without that, I definitely think he'd be one to watch for potentially even the title, because sometimes in especially the GT4 cars, it takes a little while to get used to how they drive. It's just in that weird little middle ground between a sort of TCR car and a GT3 car, the way they can handle. There's a little bit of crossover between them at the sort of pace that they have. Even a few little quirks, even though the TCRs are all front wheel drive, there's a few little ways that you can drive them in a similar way to carry it through, very momentum based.
Yeah, you can sort of adapt, can't you, per car?
Yeah, and I think that's something that obviously it takes a little bit of getting used to, depending on which car you're driving as well. They all have their different quirks. The Aston Martin has its own bad habits that you have to sort of get used to. It's not great really accelerating out of slow speeds. The traction control is nightmare sometimes when it cuts in, so you need to get just at the threshold where it isn't going to be affecting you, especially on the fixed setups where you can't do too many tweaks. And if you can get that nailed down and find out how the car handles, any of the GT4 cars can be on their day capable of winning. Balance of performance is fairly even. Obviously at the moment it seems to be the McLarens out on top, but with Simon Povey and Lewis Ward, it doesn't matter what car they could be driving in, I'm fairly certain they'd be able to get those levels of results. The Mercedes seems to be favoured as well. We did see quite a lot of them up at the top of the timing sheets in practice. It is a shame that the Astons have, sadly, I think, fallen a little bit by the wayside along with the BMWs, and to an extent the Porsches are actually having a bit of a revival, aren't they? Like we said at the start of the broadcast, last season there was only the 2 of them, but now we seem to have a fair few more of them, and maybe that will go forward into next season.
Yeah, it's been nice to see the difference in the cars as well. And, one of the best things about GT racing, whether it be GT3, GT4, or even GT2s these days, you get the variation in machines that are so different in shape. I mean, you look at a Porsche 718 like this, and then the Mercedes in front of it, different engines, completely different widths and lengths and wheelbases, and they're so close on performance that there's only tiny quirks and a lot of preferences for drivers that make the big difference. I just wanted to highlight James Holman's race as well a little bit in sort of linking it to the Porsche. He's gained 8 places in this race so far. He's the second highest mover in the field, and he's actually inside the top 10 now after starting 18th on the grid, so he's having a really good run at this moment in time. And he's got Johnny Elia just in front of him there, just 1 second clear. A bit further back we've got Rob Sutherland, Stuart Clark and Mark Johnson still having their fight, but I wanted to highlight the biggest mover in the field so far, which is Andrew Shepherd for Scuderia Chicken House, one of the fantastic team names that we have in the series here. I love the livery as well, great looking car. Andrew started this race in 32nd on the grid. He's now up into 23rd position, and he's only 6/10 behind Heinz Mayer as well, so he's definitely doing a good job of flying forward, even though chickens don't fly, but this one certainly does. And in the middle of the pack, we've got a few other big movers. John Roberts, Rob Sutherland's moved up well. We've also had a couple of places gained for Mike Horder. He started outside the top 10, up into 8th place in the McLaren right now. But it's interesting to see this because a number of the drivers this season, you know, they've all said about how, well, say last season actually, have all said about how quick the McLaren is and, you know, how it really does have a lot of advantages over the other cars. But it's difficult to get that pace out of it. We've seen a few drivers change to the McLaren and still not quite match the likes of Simon Povey and Lewis Ward at the front of the field. No disrespect to them because it's a hard car to drive, but it just shows that point, I think, doesn't it? It just really proves it.
Yeah, there is a definite adaptation period that needs to be made from the McLaren. I remember driving it at the start of season 1 before switching over to the Aston Martin when that came out, and the car handles just so differently to the Aston. It was very weird doing the crossover. It's very pointy, the McLaren. It's sort of just anything you do to it, it responds near enough instantly. You turn in, it does it, whereas the Aston Martin was a little bit more understeery. It was very weird to adapt to, but obviously once you've driven a few races and got them under your belt, it certainly is there. And I almost had a bit of remorse actually after in the race before. It was at Sebring actually, where they just sort of switched over with the iRacing balance of performance, and all of a sudden the Porsches were thoroughly knocked down a peg and the McLaren was really quite quick, and it's basically been unchanged since then. I think it's something that's taken the iRacing community a little while to acknowledge, because obviously the shiny new car syndrome has affected it for a while with the addition of the Aston Martin and then the addition of the Mercedes. All the while the McLaren's been there, same as it ever was, and now people are starting to, I think, realise that it is decently quick. It's not overpowered by any stretch of the imagination, but it has its own quirks about it, and if you can get them nailed down, it is a really formidable and rapid beast in its class. And
yeah,
that's something that I think we are seeing in the likes of Simon Povey and Lewis Ward that have been able to sort of tame it to a degree.
Yeah, definitely, and that's
definitely taming it now. If you look at the lap times, oh my word, Simon!
Oh my god, 2:14.855 for Simon Povey means that's the fastest lap of the race. That's not the fastest way around turn 1 though. He just deploys the invisibility cloak for a moment there. He's now got 3.1 seconds over Lewis Ward and then 12 seconds back to Christian Saruta. So the two of them have been flying. Tim Perry's only 9 seconds off Christian now as well. He's actually lapping quicker than him at the minute. Tim Perry's got some great pace at the moment. He's really switched it all on. Lee Berridge only a couple of tenths off him. Then we've got Guy Edwards and Taylor Adams right together in this little... Well, what was this group? It's sort of spread out now, hasn't it? The whole bunch of them are separated by about 6 or 7 seconds after the pit stops. But while this isn't... Admittedly, this isn't the most flamboyant and in-your-face race in the world. We've got these interesting battles going on that are the battles of intrigue. You know, we've got this chase. We've got a little move here by Taylor Adams down the inside, but Guy Edwards is going to get the slipstream on him. But this is the wonderful thing about endurance racing. It takes time to come to fruition here. People have to run their race and not just sprint to the flag, you know. They have to be so careful lap after lap. A tenth here or even half a second there can make such a difference in an amplified way in a race like this. Mistakes like that can make a difference as well, as Mike Horder a little bit late on the brakes and has to go straight on past Guy Edwards and then back onto the circuit. I don't think he's going to get a slowdown penalty for such behaviour, but yeah, unfortunately for Mike, just overcooks it there when he had a chance to really close in on the guys in front, didn't he, Ed?
Yeah, and it was so tricky, obviously, with these cars. Especially in the McLaren, actually, if it breaks away from you, it's a nightmare. It really is to get back under control. I did actually miss a little bit of what we were following there as I was trying to keep up with YouTube chat. But Simon Povey, yet again, with the quick times coming through, once more, fastest lap of the race. And Lewis Ward, it just doesn't seem to have an answer at the moment. And this is a Simon that I was used to having to deal with in season 1, where you'd be trying your hardest, you'd be putting in what you'd feel were properly good lap times, personal best sectors, personal best laps, and then all of a sudden comes through and it's just nothing. So Simon Povey again, really quick through the timing, yes, again. And Lewis Ward, even though he's a few hundredths off of his best lap, still loses time to Simon Povey. And then you're just left wondering, well, what can you do?
Yeah.
And sometimes the answer is nothing. You're against one of the quickest drivers in a GT4 car right now, and there is, sadly, sometimes it's just out of your hands and you need to rely on a mistake or try a different strategy, and that might be the Hail Mary from Lewis Waters, to try something different in terms of the strategy.
And as Dan McCauley has just popped into the YouTube chat to say, he's wondering if Lewis is actually saving fuel at this point of the race, whether he isn't giving it absolutely everything, whether he's just taking the extra moment here to lift a bit longer before getting onto the brakes, or just take it easy through certain corners and make sure that he's not using all the fuel in the world. And there was a little bit of a move down the order here as Ben Bennyworth and Pete Thickett are having a bit of a scrap. Pete just getting past Ben on the way into Canada Corner. Martin Kenyon says, is the time of day speeded up? Will we get dark here? It might just about get dark, actually. Yeah, the sun is setting here, but it's not going to be complete full sunset by the time the race is done. We're about an hour away from completing the race here. We've got a good, 25 laps left at this point of the race. 37 laps completed, and this is how the field is spread at the moment. You can see the leader on the furthest right-hand point of the map now, just getting into Canada Corner, Simon Povey. And then he's got a little gap back to Lewis Ward. And then in all the clear air in the world, Christian Saruta. Wait for it. Wait for it. There he is. Coming through shot, eventually. Down towards Canada Corner himself. And then he's got a decent gap back to Tim Perry and the like as well. So the field is pretty spread out at this point, as we've said. But these are the... Oh, that looks tasty. These are the interesting moments now where the drivers have to be so careful lap after lap not to overdo it. Kind of like this, unfortunately, by Guy Robertson, who has had a moment. Oh, he's just going wide at the carousel. Clips the grass. It goes around. And is it going to... It's going to suddenly spit. Whoa! Just in front of Tim Perry on the outside of the carousel. He gets it in reverse, does the right thing. And he's going to try and light up the rears now and sort of spin it back onto the circuit. Well, he was off circuit for a while, actually, by the look of it. But Christian Saruta, oh my goodness me, Simon Povey's done another fastest lap, 2:14.81. So this is definitely now, I think, Simon doing fastest laps. Lewis, he's only 3/10 off him.
Go on board and see if he's fuel saving. We'll have a listen to the engine.
All right, Mum.
Sorry for the field on. Let's have a listen. Not really much of a lift there, so...
No. The lighting conditions looking lovely here, though, right now, aren't they?
Really wonderful, the way iRacing do. We say it time and time again. When it works brilliantly. We like to sometimes be critical of it, but it's also worth praising what the service does very well, and that is obviously It's weird to say that it's not new. It's been in the sim for a good few years now, but it feels new, doesn't it? The day-night transition from back when it was the set time, and you could only have Le Mans either in bright daylight and you'd be driving around at midnight with the sun in your eyes, or
the vice versa of I remember doing the Daytona 24 hours a couple of times, and it was dark all the way through, but it'd be like 2 in the afternoon where you are in the UK and boiling hot. Well, I say boiling hot, it was in January, so it's never boiling hot. It's never boiling hot here in the summer anyway, but you know what I mean. You'd look out the window and it'd be daylight, and you'd really feel more tired because of that, and vice versa as well when it was daylight all the way through. You know, you'd feel like you'd be really knackered because it'd be the middle of the night in the real world as well. Hello, Stuart Clark. How on earth did he save that? How did he get that stopped? What?
oh my word.
What a save by Stuart Clark. I can't even go back and look at that, I'm afraid. I really can't. That's a massive shame. Actually, we might be able to here. Yeah, here we go.
Just dropped an anvil on the brake pedal.
I didn't even know there was gravel out there to even touch, to be honest with you. That was amazing by Stuart Clark, as Lewis Ward is in the pits first. Well, that's not what we expected. Flipping heck.
I think we do 10. No, we don't actually. Yeah,
we thought Povey was going to be going for it, and Lewis was saving fuel. Well, I did.
Turns out.
Don't know if you want to disagree now, Ed, so it looks better, but...
No, I think you're right. Yeah, to be fair, it was supposed to be Lewis Ward that we thought was fuel saving, but evidently not. He did obviously come in a little bit earlier. His pit stop is around about a lap or so before Simon's on the previous time, so
yeah.
We will see if Simon will be coming in next lap, or if Simon's will be able to actually extend the stint, which will be a real gut punch, I think it's fair to say, for Lewis. But here we go. Simon has got some traffic to negotiate. An awkward bit of the circuit as well, coming down now towards the hurry downs. He's going to be trying to give the hurry up to
yes.
the 222 of Heinz Meyer, who obliges.
Do that more. Yes, that was good. I approve massively of that one. That was good.
Yeah, nothing makes me feel better than praise from Chaz Senpai.
Oh, aye.
Oh, that felt weird.
Oh, yeah, don't do that. Stuart Clark.
I have to ruin it. I have to. I get some praise, and I immediately have to sabotage it. I'm not allowed to be praised for anything good. Immediately ruin it, Ed. Yes. Here we go. Stuart Clark, Rusty's Roast Racing. Oh, there's maybe really tricky now, right in the middle of the two Aston Martins.
About twice as wide as the Porsche.
Yep.
I think he's going to have Rob here. I think he's going to have a go. I mean, he nearly did it by accident on the previous lap, but look for a move here from Stuart. No. He's just going to wait his turn, and look at Mark Johnson going wide there on the way in. He's thinking, right, I'm going to get a run on the exit, but then just gets a little bit too eager on the throttle and spits the rear end out. What was it you were saying about traction control, Ed? Simon Povey flies into the pit lane. It's a great looking pit entrance here, but my God, look how long this pit lane is. It's like being on an airfield with nobody else around you, isn't it?
I was so aggressive on the way on pit entry by Simon Povey, really pushing it hard, which I think is where he gains a lot of the time, is just by going just that aggressively on the way in to shave off the time when he gets onto the pit limiter. Christian Saruta carries on, takes the lead of the race. Tim Perry and Lee Berridge coming in at the same time. That's the battle for what will be fourth place. Taylor Adams also carrying on. Those two Mercedes doing a very good job at saving the fuel. It is also something that we'll probably have a look at as the story for next season, is the way that the Mercedes, like it was in season 2, was the better car over the race distance in terms of management of the fuel and of tyres, whereas just on raw pace alone, the McLaren was top dog. And Simon Povey back out onto the circuit, still ahead of Lewis Ward, but crucially, the gap appears to have extended. It's now 4 seconds from Simon to Lewis.
And look at this as well. Taylor Adams is 21 seconds ahead of Simon Povey on the road afterwards. And, I mean, a pit stop is 30 seconds. And the pit lane time is 1:11 for most of the drivers here. 1:17 for Taylor Adams last time out, but he was stationary for 35 seconds. We've got other cars making their way out of the pits. Mike Horder getting going here. Johnny Elia leaving the pits. Guy Edwards is also coming down the straight. Whoa, an aggressive pit exit there by Johnny Elia. He says, stuff it. Straight over to the racing line. Don't let Guy get too close, mate. Guy flies around turn 1. It's so easy, isn't it, when you're the following driver or the chasing driver, to see the car out in front coming out of the pits and overdo it into turn 1 and go, right, I must maximise this to chase them now.
Just got to, I mean, if you can see an opportunity to chase someone, you've got to go for it. You see any chance, you see anything to fight for in these longer races, you have to set that the target, and you need to do everything you can to go for it, because it's so easy to find yourself in these races, be in your own little bubble and not have anything to fight for, and then your lap times begin to suffer, you drop back, and you actually find yourself getting caught because of it. So if you can find something to chase, even if it's a specific lap time, if it is a gap that you want to try and bring down, you can't really rest in these sorts of events. You have to find something and just go for it, like you say, just to chase it down. Oh, look at that.
You can hear
Turning
it.
in immediately, you hear the tyres going, can't you? They're struggling.
Yeah, it was a horrible sort of four-wheel drift there, like we see in the Pro Mazdas in the CDM Formula 1 World Championship. You know, the car gets so much grip at the front end, and the rears don't completely break away, but the whole thing just carries a little bit too much lateral momentum. Look at this as well, the sun's shining from behind the trees here at Road America. Lovely shot here, actually, as they go through the trees. Different how it was so bright earlier on, and now, of course, it's all golden and the sunlight is fading. We've still got 21 laps to go, so a long old time in this race remaining. And it is I mean, you know, not to sort of put my own event down, but this I mean, it's almost dragging this one. This feels like a long one, even from up here in the box. But as a driver, this must be a mentally challenging race, because every lap takes so long to do, and you've got so many of them. It's actually frightening how much this feels like a real marathon.
I mean, for a lot of these drivers, it is. Obviously, it's over twice the length of a SRM GT4 challenge race. As Johnny Elia, I think he's watching the broadcast, can see that he's got some screen time and gives us a little flash in towards the corner. Obviously, as the sun is truly in the process of setting, and you do get the lovely liveries showing in all their glory as the light bounces off them. Gives a nice little sort of pale orange hue to the whites of the 11/10 Racing team car. But that RD Sim Sport machine of Guy Edwards is closing down, and is it fair to say that, I was about to say something, but all of a sudden that mistake, I'll save that one for later, I think.
Yeah, there you go, Ed. Lovely little curse there. That was only a little one. That's just a morsel of Ed's power, everybody.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, he's got the strongest commentator's
I
curse
thought
I've
about
seen.
saying something, and then all of a sudden saw what was happening and thought, maybe not.
Christian Saruta into the pits now, as iRacing Shadows do their thing. Thanks very much for that. Look at that. You love it, don't you? Love it. Taylor Adams into the pits as well. He was chasing down Christian Saruta earlier on and continues to do so, but a little bit more spread out this time, as Simon Povey flies up the hill. The Spontex CDM Esports car, not so shiny anymore. We're going to need to get the Spontex tough scourers out to clean it off after the race. But still, looking wonderful in the sunshine. You get that sort of haze and mist now, don't you, at this time of day? It's really beautiful. The atmospheric sort of lighting now on iRacing is so much better than it was even just a couple of years ago. And like we said before, with the day-night transition, they've added so many lovely effects into it as well. Hope you're all enjoying yourselves in the YouTube chat, over on Twitch as well, and on Facebook. Let us know what you think of the race so far, what you think is going to happen within these last couple of stints now. 20 laps to go here at Road America in the Road America 400 by Sim Racing Magazine events, sponsored by Orris Digital and Derbyshire Holiday Homes. We're very grateful to our sponsors and partners of the event. And of course, you have me, Chaz Draycott, and Ed May in the commentary box as well. And we've been enjoying ourselves so far with this fantastic community. And of course, we're looking forward to the Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Challenge, which starts in just a week's time. I am in no... Oh my God, Christian, what are you doing? I am in no way prepared for it at all, but I can't wait to fumble around next Tuesday and get everything done last minute. And I hope you will join us for that. And it's certainly going to be an epic season. If it's anything like Season 2, Ed, flipping out, we're going to lose our minds.
I'm going to be loving every moment. It's one of my favourite series that I've had the pleasure of racing in, and then also to commentate over. Huge thanks, of course, to boss man Andy Marston for the strings he's been able to pull and to help us both out in getting this up and running. The sponsors as well, able to help us out, the likes of course, Orris Digital that sponsor tonight, as does Derbyshire Holiday Homes as well for next season. Great to have plenty of people involved behind the scenes, and also all of the drivers doing their bit to keep it such a nice friendly league, and one that it's fair to say has really blossomed into something truly amazing. From season 1 to now, it's been a real shining light of what I think a lot of iRacing leagues and community should aspire to be.
Yeah, definitely. You know, there's never a bad vibe within the community. Everyone gets on really well, and when there's a decent race
on there, That was just for a moment saw it was one of the, I'm trying to think who it was now, coming out of Carousel.
Johnny Elia.
Yeah, it was Johnny Elia, just having a massive moment.
Whoa. Hello. I unfortunately I was looking at timing and I just missed that one. Sorry.
All right, I just got caught off guard because I was trying to figure out what was going on there because I just refused to believe that it could have been Johnny Elia for some reason.
Yeah, it's very easy to do it there, though. That's the thing at the carousel, isn't it? Because it's one of those really tough, long corners, so you've got to really, really be good at judging it midway around the corner to make sure you don't throw yourself into it too early, because you can clip the apex really early on, get on the power thinking, yeah, I'll let it wash out wide on the exit, and because there's no runoff and anything like that here that sort of gives you an easier time at Road America, other than down at turn 6, it's an old-school circuit like that, but because the walls are dead far away, you can sort of, I don't know, drivers do risk it, don't they, here? They don't really take it massively easy. You've only got a bit of runoff here and there.
Yeah, but I think Guy was doing the right thing as well. He was piling the pressure on, and the RD Simsport man was ready to take advantage.
Oh, that's...
You can always hear my bones cracking as I stretched for that one.
Oh, you're going to get splinters off the bottom of the barrel you've been scraping for that, mate. But still, we entertain here on Chaz Draycott Media, and that's why I employ you, Ed. Mike Corder.
I'm glad you're enjoying it. I think you might be the only one, but that's all that matters.
Hey, yeah, as long as your employer's happy, it's all right, isn't it?
Yeah,
Mike,
that's the main thing.
Mike Corder trying to stick with Taylor Adams here. He's about 9/10 of a second off him at the moment. Taylor is coming up on, I think, Russell Clark just in front in the Porsche, as the sun is definitely setting here at Road America. The race carries on with Simon Povey in the lead, 3.6 seconds clear of Lewis Ward. And Christian Saruta, Tim Perry and Lee Berridge doing a great job in that BMW, actually. We've not looked at Lee in a while, to be fair. He's just there, just going out of shot now, up the road. And what a great drive it's been from Lee so far. I think he's just about missed out on getting into the GT4 Challenge for Season 3, but we really do hope to see him onto the grid. Whether we do have a few dropouts or not, we will definitely see him on if that is the case. But this has been a really strong performance by him, and again, it just highlights how much of a shame it is that he hasn't made it in, really. But it does show you that, you know, we've always got this sort of talent level lined up for people to come in and join the championship and really throw themselves into it and give them a good fight. We've got Kim Such coming into the pit lane for Orris Racing. He's made 3 pit stops so far. I think he got a bit of damage earlier on in the race, so he's had to pit an extra time compared to a few others. We've got a battle going on here, which is Heinz Mayer ahead of Martin Shirley in the number 81 RD Mercedes. Now, he obviously had that big hit earlier on with Fausto Pinto, so he's been into the pits an extra time as well, and is hoping to make up for that and put in some good pace and get past Heinz Mayer. What else have we got going on? Stuart Clark and Byron Crawford aren't too far apart either, actually. Byron in the Mercedes.
I'll tell you another thing, actually, Chaz, that's going on, and that is Lewis Ward gaining slightly on Simon Povey. Gap was, after the pit stops, around about 4.1 seconds. It's now 3.6. So it's been half a second in the sort of 5 laps or so of this stint. So Lewis is certainly eating into the advantage, and that's something that I think we were talking about earlier, is drivers, if they don't have a gap to fight for, they can sometimes slow the pace down a little bit. And I worry that might have been what we're seeing with Simon Povey at the moment. He doesn't have a real thing to fight for. Lewis Ward isn't close enough to really be a worry, whereas Lewis Ward, he can still see Simon up front and has that thing to fight for, which is why the lap times are looking a little bit strong for Lewis, just because he has a more visible thing to fight for. I'm not saying that Simon's obviously going to be taking it easy. He's probably managing the gap, and we'll see him put through a purple lap time in the next 2 laps. But as it stands, Lewis is looking the quicker of the two.
Yeah, he's really on it now, and it's interesting how it swings from stint to stint, isn't it, with these drivers? And that's what we loved about it in the Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Challenge last season. You saw such a difference in pace and confidence from drivers. 2:15.1 for Simon Povey, 2:15.2 for Lewis Ward. So that time Simon responds, but only by a tenth or so. And that's the minimal margins we're dealing with here. It's 3.8 seconds, so we go on board with Lewis. You can probably see Simon just up the road. There he is, going into turn, well, it is 2 and 2, but they call it turn 3. As the sun continues to set, you can hear that horrible click in the McLaren on the gear shifters. I hate it. It's like your headset crackling. Just listen to it when he goes down the gears now into turn 6. Just we'll just give it a moment. Just listen in, see if you can notice it, and then you'll never unhear it. You ready? What a horrible noise. Anyway, moving on. We've got a car off the road, I'm afraid, and it's Ben Bennyworth, and it's a race-ending shunt by the look of it. We've had Charlie Stout off the road just before it, so we'll check this out. He's clearly taking a bite of something. As loses the back end. And across the gravel he goes. Has a bit of a shaky return to the circuit, but doesn't have anything too untoward happen to him. Doesn't end up extinct. Ben Bennyworth at the same corner, actually.
Beat me to it.
Oh, Ben's had a spin, and is that? That's that, apparently. Ben clearly not happy with how the race is going at the moment, which is understandable. You know, it's a long old race to be pounding around for this long for a mistake like that to happen. Simon Povey, though, and he's pounding around at the moment with no such mistakes. He's got his sort of stunt double in front of him there, which is Stefan Mellis in the Bounty Hunter. I'm going to get this right. The Bounty Hunter Extended Racing BXXR car with the splitter and wheels. I was going to say the wheels were glowing red because of the sun, but they actually are red. Simon Povey now coming through to lap the Belgian. Goes through on the left-hand side. And it's definitely getting dark now down at the final corner, isn't it, Ed? You can really see the difference in the lighting now. It's all shade down there. So the drivers will certainly be going into the night time as this race comes to an end, which is exciting.
Yeah, it is. And Lewis Ward, was he closed down on this lap? We're going to have to basically every single lap do the gap watch and see which is which. And yeah, Simon Povey, still a very good time, but Lewis Ward 2 tenths faster. So that gap ebbs and flows, lap on lap. One driver improves, the other responds in kind, and that's probably the reason why we've seen them both with their best laps into the 14s, because they both keep pushing themselves to go that little bit quicker.
Just watching the BMW fly down the start-finish straight. I love this time of day and this sort of lighting for the BMW because it really highlights those very angry eyes on the front of the BMW M4. You know, after BMW changed the grille on this car, I do maintain that the M4 of this shape was the last really angry-looking car that BMW made. It's suddenly just... Every time you look at it, it's just so menacing. And it's a big, big car as well. Again, BMW using a big car for a GT car as opposed to something like a small coupe or a sort of supercar shape, which obviously they don't produce. Rob Sutherland and Stuart Clark having a good fight here. These two had a couple of battles through the Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Challenge last time out. Baron Crawford's in this as well, actually, just behind them. So now at the start-finish straight they go. This is the battle for 13th position. Porsche and 2 Aston Martins all in the slipstream of each other. You can see it's still very bright in the sky actually in front. It's almost going to be a bit confusing for the drivers with the fact that the sky is so bright ahead. As Byron looks down the inside, Rob comes over to the right a little bit, wants to squeeze him to the apex. Byron's a little bit early on the brakes. Says, no, we want to stick with Stuart. We don't want to overdo it here because it's so easy, isn't it, to just start a fight like that and all of a sudden drop back. Although Rob's actually got a great run out of turn 1 there, Ed. So he's the sort of reverse Newton's cradle, as I always say, where it's the ball in the middle that's moving around rather than the ones on the outside.
Yeah, but you know what happens with the Newton's cradle, don't you, Chaz?
You throw it at the wall when you get angry.
A biff in the front or a biff in behind. So we're going to be seeing which way it will come. If it does for Stuart Clark, Rob Sutherland and Warren Crawford, it's going to be tricky though, isn't it? Just when you're in this little fight and you're in the middle, you can get either too excited trying to make a move and then find yourself out of position and losing out, or you'll have a car in behind that's going to try and make a move on you but not judge the distance to the car ahead and then have contact with the lead of the trio. It's so difficult to manage, and over the course of these races, especially with the longer ones, a lot of the time drivers do decide discretion being the better part of valor and are thinking to maybe leave it for a little while, and then right at the end you see all the fireworks and dramas start to unfold. Speaking of dramas and things unfolding, is Tim Perry closing in on third placed Christian Saruta?
He is.
I think he is. That gap is now 3.2 seconds.
Yeah, there is Saruta coming out of turn 3. And there is Tim Perry. So now that Tim is clear of that battle that he was involved in earlier, let's not forget he qualified ahead. Sorry, no, he didn't qualify ahead of Christian. He qualified right behind him. Second and third they were on the grid, with Christian in second place. And Tim has been right on the pace all the way through, but just not able to break away from that pack initially. So that's what's held him back here, and he's doing a great job of it right now. James Holman's gone past Johnny Elia, and he's left him for dead on the exit actually as well. I think there was a bit of compromise going on there between the two. Maybe Johnny having to back out of it to avoid contact. Dan Martin, we saw a moment ago with Ben Gregory. They're close together. Dan recovering after his earlier drama. I think it was him and Guy Edwards, wasn't it, that made contact together, and Dan spun around and lost a bunch of places. The Rob Sutherland, Byron Crawford and Stuart Clark fight is the one behind this as well. And look, Stuart Clark has actually broken away from the two Aston Martins briefly. He's got 0.8 of a second to the two behind him. So he's going to be happy to have opened up a gap. Then we've got John Roberts and Oliver Carbadine quite close together. I'd say Oliver's got one of the best looking cars here this evening. It may not be a specific sim racing team livery, but my goodness me, it looks very good.
Really does look very nice indeed. The Momo Italy livery. It's actually, I think Rob Sutherland was under a lot of pressure by Byron Crawford for a moment. I think they've been able to sort themselves out, but Byron was certainly closing as they made their way down into turn 5. And obviously underneath the Corvette bridge. So nice, wonderful set of corners where you just chuck it in, the car sticks with it. Wonderful in a GT4 car, this circuit. And it almost makes me a little bit envious of the drivers going around here for 2 hours, because it is really fun to drive and just chuck it at some of these corners, especially the one that we're going to come up to now, the kink, where it's just about being the bravest person on the circuit. You've got to have a slight breath off of the throttle. You can still have throttle input on, you don't fully lift out, you just sort of coast it in. Ooh. And then get on the power as early as you dare on the exit as well. When you hit it nice, it feels so good.
He had a bit of a secondary lift there by the look of it though, did Byron Crawford, so I don't think he was completely happy with the run that he got through the corner. Although if we go back to Johnny Elia, he's all over the back of James Holman now going into turn 1. Just guiding it over the curve, but look at the run on the exit there. Holman not able to get the power down as much. Johnny Elia moving around all over behind him. Johnny's always exciting to watch, to be fair, has done since the first day I commentated on him. Or has been since the first day I commentated on him. But right now he's back in the slipstream of the little Porsche. James Holman, the highest placed Porsche in the field. You can see there's a number of them in and around the sort of top 20 mark. Oliver Carbadine, Thickett, Shepherd, Mayer, Stout and the other Mayer. As well now lap 48 out of 62. And Simon Price saying that, well, Mr. Hedgecock has thought that Tim is putting in a mega shift in that car, definitely in the chase for a podium, and he absolutely is. The gap's down to 2.7 seconds now. He's another 0.2 quicker than Christian Saruta on that previous lap, and to say that somebody is quicker than Christian Saruta are words that don't normally come out of my mouth. Simon Price has said, plus all this effort will leave him knackered for Formula 1 tomorrow, and he's not wrong, because we do have the Canadian Ball Prix tomorrow on Chaz Draycott Media in the CDM Formula 1 World Championship by F1Countdown.com, and with such a quick-fire season on our hands, it's been a busy time for Formula 1, hasn't it, Ed? And a busy time for us too as well, but it means that the season's ever more exciting because the drivers don't get as much of a break between races. Yeah,
busy for us both, considering that we'll be having, for a little while, we'll be having the SRM GT4 Challenge on a Tuesday, and then Formula 1 on the Wednesday is Guy Robertson. Oh my word, just the brakes just don't seem to respond. It has a massive twitch when he's literally trying to get it stopped, doesn't he? Let's have a look. Does he just miss it completely? The car just doesn't seem to be stopping at all, does it?
No, that was a big
doesn't look like
off.
the brakes are working.
It was a horrible hit for him. The bonnet's doing all sorts of strange things. It wants to stay attached. Don't hit the... Well, doesn't quite stay stuck together. But yeah, Tim Perry, well, one of the drivers of the race for me so far for Altitude Esports. Great team of lads as well. Another wonderful group. There's some fantastic teams in this championship and great people, you know, and this is one of the wonderful things about sim racing is that you do meet all these groups of people and these sort of, like these friendship groups. That's almost what the teams are, you know. Yeah. At this level where it's not the full pro esports level side of things, you know, where we're going into like the Tag Heuer Porsche Esports Supercorp and even getting involved with, you know, Rennsport and the amazing ESL R1 events. The drivers are still very, very capable, but they're in it for, there's a social aspect for it. Not that there isn't at the top level. I'm not saying that, they're complete robots and they don't have friends. But, at this level, people are in teams with each other because they get on, because they're friends with each other. They're not sort of thrown out because of poor results, and they're not only brought in because of good results. It's because people are all good friends with each other. Simon's too quick to run in any sort of team that I ever run, but we do it because we're mates. We really get on very well. Simon and I understand each other really well, and always have a good laugh. And he wants to run the colours. He doesn't want to be tied down to a specific team or anything. He just does it because it's a laugh. There's a bunch of guys like that. The RD Sim Sport lot are fantastic. Boosted Motorsport as well. I've been around the Boosted guys for God knows how many years now, maybe 7 or 8 years, I think it is, and it's always been a great group of people.
Yeah, it's great as well to see a lot of support as well, like you say, for Tim Perry. I think a lot of his teammates arrived, obviously.
Your teammate from the
James Beanie as well.
Yeah.
They're in the YouTube chat as well. I think racing for Altitude Esports now as well, if I remember rightly. So good to see you, James. Hope you're keeping well, bud. Shame we aren't able to partner up for any more special events. Obviously, I'm married to the comms box for now. But it is obviously great to see all the outpouring of support, not just for specific drivers, but for everyone in here as well, for the series itself that everyone just enjoys watching along and being a part of. That's I think the main takeaway from all of this is just, like you say, no matter what, it's the racing that is the real winners. No matter what the situations are, whoever finds themselves out on top, we are always treated to a great time of things. And I mean, look at Tim Perry. He has got that gap down now to under 2 seconds, and you can see visually Christian Saruta just a little ways up the road and well within touching distance now for Tim Perry.
And he did a purple sector 5 on that previous lap. There's 6 sectors around here at Road America, but Tim is absolutely flying. He's been doing some wonderful videos as well that he's been posting in the Sim Racing Magazine Discord channel, or Discord server, I should say. He's been doing track guides for the Ferrari GT3 Challenge Series as well, which are on his YouTube channel, TP Sim Racing, if you wanted to check them out. And he's been doing a great job of it. And I think, when you put time and, even more time into something like that as well, this may not be the same car that he's doing that in, you just spend more consistent time in and around the quirks of just the sim itself. I know a bunch of guys that they can switch from one sim to the other and get on with all of them, but it's not easy at all to just go from one sim to the next, just because of the different ways that the cars behave and how it responds to your inputs and so on. Knowing that you're just going to be in one car and one sim all the time, you do see people improve from projects like that, and it's been good to see this improvement from Tim. He's always been quick anyway, but still, he's just getting quicker and quicker and more consistent. I think that's the key. Johnny Elia now all over the back here of James Holman once again. Mercedes versus Porsche. Great little scrap going on just inside the top 10 for the final couple of spots here. And the field remains spread out as it was, but there's still little duets here and there fighting each other. Johnny Elia actually did a purple sector 1 on this lap, Ed, so he's really on a mission right now in using the slipstream to chase down James Holman and filling that mirror tenfold. Lap 51 of 62 now, and Simon Povey continues to lead.
Yeah, but Johnny Elia, while he has the pace, gaining ever so little by little, it seems that it isn't enough, so he might need those 11 tenths and maybe a little bit more just to get ahead of the RD Sim Sport car. It's doing a very good job, it's fair to say. It's not the favoured machine around a circuit like this. It doesn't have the top end of the Mercedes, so the work that we're seeing Holman put in through the corners, give himself that breathing space and time to work with so that he is safe on the straights. He's doing a really good job of defending and keeping it clean.
And that's what it's all about, keeping it clean in a race like this. It's over 2 hours long. We're just about to hit 2 hours as well, actually. If I give you the session time, you'll see that we are... there's 2.5 hours as total. There's 40 minutes left of the race for us to complete, but I can't actually get it to show how long we've been going for without giving it the full time. And it looks ugly, so we're not doing that. Dan Martin and Ben Gregory are into the pit lane at this moment in time. They're just coming down now into their boxes. I don't know what on earth the hell happened to all the pit boxes then, but still, the field now coming in for what I believe will be the final stops now, because there's only 11 laps of the race left to go, so we will see at this point who has saved fuel and who has not. But this is probably the fight to watch right now. The Porsche of James Holman throwing everything he can at the circuit. James racing legends in real life. The tiny little Legends machines, very difficult cars to drive, so you would have thought that in the sim, a little Porsche like this would not scare him. And it certainly isn't at the moment, but he's having to wrangle it to stay ahead of Johnny Elia. Johnny racing in the real world as well with 11 tenths this year. They're doing the Enduro KA Championship as well. Paul Stout very kindly sent me a great image earlier on and said good luck with the stream. Thank you very much, Paul. But yeah, the 11 tenths guys have got a KA together to race in the Enduro KA Championship this year. It's great to see. Really great. And again, just another fantastic example, Ed, of people getting involved in the sim racing side of things and then falling in love even more with the idea of doing it for real and then going and actually doing it, which is awesome.
Yeah, it is wonderful to see. Obviously, it is something we saw a lot of people get involved in during the lockdown, with people turning to virtual motorsport and getting bitten by the racing bug, so to speak. And obviously, yeah, like club racing has really come on leaps and bounds since lockdown has ended, with more and more people getting involved in what we call full metal motorsport, I think it's fair to say. As Lewis Ward comes out of the pits and into not necessarily the clearest of air. Simon Povey was likely able to go a lap longer as a result, potentially having a shorter pit stop as well. But it is basically now all down to this. What can Lewis Ward? He took a little bit of time out of Simon Povey's advantage last time around in that last stint, but I'm not sure if he's got just enough pace to properly close down and make a good go of it. Meanwhile, Saruta and Tim Perry, well, this is a battle that is certainly on now, isn't it? You can see the gap is underneath 1 second. And Tim Perry, after all that hard work fighting against the clock, the lap times, the gap has been coming down, and now the target is well within his sights. Pit stops, we do expect to see them come in probably before Tim can make the overtake. So then it's going to be about where he finds himself for the final run to the finish.
Simon Povey's coming to the pits, nearly into the back of Toby Ward there, as they both slow down for the pit entrance. And it's not an easy one to get right here, because you're basically going over the crest of a hill and just smacking it onto the brakes when you get up to it. Simon pitting for the final time. Toby Ward pulls over into the box. But yeah, this Mercedes battle now for what is effectively going to be for third place, unless there's major dramas for Lewis Ward and Simon Povey. As you can see, Saruta pushing hard. Tim Perry dives into the pits first, though. Saruta is going to go for a bit longer and maybe have a shorter pit stop because of that. That could be an interesting dynamic to think about here. These two still going on. Look at the reflection there. It's lovely, other than the splitter on the Mercedes glowing red as if there's no surface behind it. But still, I'm picky. But this is a great battle that I'm intrigued to see go to the pit lane, because I think they're on different strategies, these guys. Not different strategies as such, but no, they're proving me wrong. They're both in on the same lap. So
Speaking of pit lane, look who's out on the pit exit. We'll watch for Simon Povey. Where is Lewis Ward? Nowhere near, unfortunately. Not close enough to really in a fight. Yeah, Lewis Ward is way back. So Simon Povey's had a much shorter stop compared to Lewis Ward and has got a big margin as a result. And that's a lot of time for Lewis to try and make up on. Yeah. Simon Povey is now able to get around the traffic.
Yeah, Toby Ward in the McLaren, wasn't it? And the boosted car came in front of Simon and left the pit lane in front of him as well. We've got a bunch more cars still sat in the pit lane as well, actually. Just leaving there was Lee Berridge in the BMW. Stefan Mellis goes past. We've got Johnny Elia there. James Holman has just got moving as well. Johnny Elia and James Holman obviously having that fantastic fight. Let's see where Johnny leaves. Yeah, he gets going now. I'd actually argue that James, if anything, has opened up a tiny advantage through that pit stop that Johnny's going to have to make back up now. We'll see what the gap stabilises to. It's about 1.5 seconds, and it was only a couple of tenths earlier, so in these last 9 laps or so, Johnny's going to have to really get a move on. Don't think we're going to get complete darkness, which is quite nice, so we're going to have a golden lit finish towards the end of the race. We've got Martin Shirley and Andrew Shepherd here having a scrap further down as well. This is for 20th and 21st place. The Porsche chasing the Mercedes this time, rather than vice versa.
Going to be intriguing. It's been intriguing all race long, really, hasn't it, to see all these different fights emerge and then fade and then sort of explode into life. What I'm really looking forward to is the Tim Perry and Christian Tsuruta tussle for third place. Speaking of, actually, we're waiting for Tsuruta to make a pit stop, but he's carrying on.
Wow.
Able to have an even longer stint and save that extra bit of fuel relative to Tim to probably have that shorter stop, but catching up to some lack traffic. At a moment like that through turn one, that's certainly not going to help the lap times.
Wait, what's this? Lewis Ward is back in the pits.
Oh dear.
Lewis Ward has returned to the pit lane only a couple of laps after making his scheduled stop. Is this a drive-through penalty?
It is probably a drive-through penalty, or even sometimes it can be a stop and hold for speeding in the pit lane. We'll see if it is just a drive-through penalty. I think we do also have a 20 incident limit, but he's not showing any signs of moving over to the pit boxes.
Yeah.
So that is a drive-through penalty for Lewis Ward, which sees him drop down the order. Will that put him behind Christian Tsuruta after the next round of pit stops? He's going to be out ahead of Tim Perry.
Wow.
But then all of a sudden, what was the battle for, what was it, third place, could become a battle for second.
Well, I did say, saving any dramas for the top two, it would be a battle for third, but I think, unfortunately for Lewis, sorry, mate, commentators cursed him in the long run there with that, but it must have been for incident points, because to be fair, even on the SDK gaming software that we use, it's not always completely accurate or matched up to iRacing's incident points, but it says he's got 39 on here compared to the sort of, well, the next one down is actually 14 that I can see on here, which is Tim Perry, according to the software on my side. So he must have clearly got 20 off tracks by now. And for 20 you get a drive-through penalty, and then 40 you get disqualified on the spot. There was a number of drivers saying they were worrying about it, but to be honest, Ed, if a lot of them haven't even got 10 in the software that we run. I mean, John Roberts has got 1 so far. So, you know, John's always had a really clean race. And we've actually said as well, haven't we? I don't think we've fully mentioned it yet, but there are prizes for this event as well. Thanks to Orris Digital, the absolute legends that are, and Heinz Mayer. And Tsuruta's going again. Tsuruta's doing another lap. Must be a hybrid Mercedes, that one. But there's a bottle of bubbly, and or a gift card for non-UK winners. So there's trophies for first, second and third. There's also a medal for safest driver, which is the lowest amount of incidents per lap for those who finish the race. And there's also going to be a medal for move of the... Tsuruta's just had a big moment there. Tsuruta's just had a massive moment there. Oh my goodness me. Let's see if we can get this back on camera. He's clearly pushing. Look at this. He's going to clip the gravel on the exit. And then again. Oh my God.
Well held.
My God. That was terrifying for Christian Tsuruta. He's back behind John Roberts, so he can. All that was just him pretending, so he can fuel save for a bit more. There's going to be a medal for move of the race, though. Self-nomination from drivers who want to enter it, basically. So they send in their entry for move of the race, and then it will be judged by the boss man, Andy Marston. And there is going to be a medal for that from Crockery Direct. So thank you very much to Orris Digital and Crockery Direct. There's a little bit of miscommunication there, as Tsuruta wants to go down the inside of John Roberts. But Simon Povey continuing on where he is. Taylor Adams has done a great job as well, hasn't he, with saving fuel in the Cystic Fibrosis Trust livery. And he's had a really strong race so far. He's up 7 places, but obviously has to still do another pit stop. Byron Crawford and Mark Johnson are making friends here in the Aston Martins as they go through the kink. Mark's gone wide. Oh, dearie me, he has to get out of that one there to make sure he doesn't go onto the grass and then spit it into the wall. We've still got 7 laps to go here, Ed. Honestly, the laps really aren't ticking by, are they? These drivers are going to be mentally drained after this one. But that's the thing with endurance racing, isn't it? Especially when you put one driver in the car for the whole race. It does take it out of you mentally and even physically in sim racing. You know, with the strength of direct drive wheels that you get these days, you know, some of them can put out stupid amounts. I think some of the highest in the market put out something like 32 newton meters of torque, and I mean that'll break your arm, so you don't really need to run that much. But even with an 8 newton meter direct drive wheel, it can be a very taxing affair, a race like this.
Yeah, especially as we are, of course, going to be getting into the hotter weather. It's been a lovely day out here, actually, to be fair.
It's gorgeous.
So it has been quite warm and toasty for some of the drivers in their sim setups, and sometimes that can add a little bit extra to the driver's test of their endurance, physically and mentally. It does reflect quite nicely, though, in the real-life conditions in a race car. It does get very hot in a cockpit, so it's immersive, if nothing else. But into the pits comes Christian Saruta. He will hand over the race lead to Simon Povey, who takes it just now. And now we have to watch for Lewis Ward, who's really attacking this final sector. We come on board as he's full chat, isn't he? You're going in towards the last corner, powering out. The way that this car just seems so much more twitchy and aggressive compared to the Mercedes when we go on board.
It's a lot more dramatic, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. There's so many more bells and whistles going on with the McLaren as Christian Saruta getting out, up and running, and he's just ahead of Lewis Ward. So game on for second place.
Oh, here we go.
Oh, it's getting tasty.
It really is. It's 1.3 seconds at the moment. Saruta's going to have to just keep his head now. He's going to notice that he's ahead of Lewis Ward. Lewis is going to be kicking himself for that incident limit as well. It seems like he's the only driver so far that's had a drive-through penalty. Tim Perry's going to see this in front of him and he's going to think, you know what, second place is on the cards here, boys. This is fantastic. And this is why we love these sorts of events, you know. It can so easily go this way. You can have just one change in the dynamic and all of a sudden the race is blown wide open, and not just for any positions, but podium positions as well. And this is going to be for a trophy as well for these guys. They get first, second and third place trophies. The winner gets a bottle of champagne, unless they're outside of the UK, and they get a sort of gift card. But I mean, if we look at the flags on the left hand side, it's quite likely they're going to be in the UK, to be honest with you. But wow, these three all together now separated by 1.9 seconds after 2 hours and 10 minutes of racing, Ed. This is just like GT4 Challenge, but just amplified. This is excellent.
Yeah, I will say as well, it's a very nice bottle of bubbly as well. I got one for season 1, and
Yeah.
it's pretty good. It's good stuff that they give you for this, so it's certainly
It's not
worth
any old plonk, as they call it. Bottle of plonk.
No, it's not Lambrini. That's for certain.
Yes, indeed. Ed, for any of you that don't know, Ed was second in the... Oh, God, Tim. Ed was second in the championship in the first season of the Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Challenge. And then after I got fed up of commentating on my own, he came into the commentary box with me with the strong experience of racing these cars for a season against some of the finest in the business, only finishing second to this man, Simon Povey, who is currently 28 seconds clear of second position. I can't say that it doesn't make me happy to see that as obviously the runner of Spontex CDM Esports. But wow, amazing stuff. Battle is definitely on for second now though, Ed, as Lewis Ward is closing in on Saruta and he's into slipstreaming range. Let's see how this works out, eh?
Oh, here we go. We saw it at the start of the race, didn't we? Lewis Ward able to get ahead of Christian Saruta, but that was when there wasn't as much to fight for at the beginning. You can think about the bigger picture and the longer con, sometimes by letting the drivers take the positions early doors and slotting in behind, but now there'll be none of that. So the fight will be well and truly in the belly of Christian Saruta. That fire will burn bright for the remaining 5 laps of action here at Road America. All the while, don't discount Tim Perry lurking in the shadows, ready to pounce should these two slow each other up. And already Lewis Ward looking to the inside. Christian Saruta, is he able to fight and break late around the outside through turn 5? No. Slots in behind, looking for a switchback, which sadly will not come, as up through the left-hander underneath the Corvette bridge, Lewis Ward takes back second place. And now Christian Saruta, what can he do to respond? Can he close down all the way through Kettle Bottoms? No sign for a move here, so it's going to have to be focusing on Canada Corner. Getting a good run through the kink will be his best chance to fight back up until, obviously, the long run down the start-finish straight and in towards turn 1.
You can see he was trying to clip the grass on the inside there. I've noticed a few drivers over the course of the race doing that to slightly over-rotate the car because they can hold the slide and carry the momentum. A few of them have just been kissing the grass early on just to drag that front right tyre inwards a little bit. They do it through the kink slightly as well. Look at these two pushing through there. That's absolute artwork through there by both of them. Gorgeous to see it. Tim Perry's not far off the back of this. 1.3 seconds. He'll be getting a minimal amount of slipstream so long as he can stay about that distance off the back of Christian Saruta, or closer, of course. But we know that Lewis Ward is so fast, and now he's in this final stint of the race, Ed. There's not going to be any sort of fuel saving, no hanging back, no lift and coast. He's just going to be pushing as hard as he can. And as reigning champion of the Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Challenge, Lewis needs to really prove a point here. And to go up against someone like Christian Saruta, he is definitely doing that. And I think as well, considering these top three, this is why it highlights how good a drive this is from Tim Perry. You know, you've got Simon Povey leading this race, the first Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Challenge champion, with a massive host of victories to his name, trophies, wins and all sorts in special events and the like. Then you've got Lewis Ward in second place, who is the current reigning champion of Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Challenge. An epic title fight with Callum Brandt and Simon Povey last season. Nearly took Apex Racing Academy to a team's championship. Then you've got Christian Saruta, who took on some of the absolute top drivers in esports in general and won the Porsche Club of Great Britain Sim Racing Championship. He has been up against some of the very finest as well outside of our community here at Sim Racing Magazine. He's come in a car that's different to what he's normally driving here on iRacing. And he's proven the point, and he's still with some of the best that we've got to offer from this community. And all that while, Tim Perry hasn't really been involved in the community that massively. He's not done any of the special events. He's not been in the Porsche Club of Great Britain Sim Racing Championship either. But he's right here, and he's giving it a shot. And it's fantastic, this drive from Tim. We don't really have an official driver of the race. But honestly, I love the fact that Tim Perry has managed to turn around what was a difficult race early on in that group to this sort of performance now, where he's only a matter of a second off a podium in a 2.5 hour long race. This is fantastic.
I'll tell you what, when you put it like that, I take back what I said earlier about being a little bit jealous that I'm not taking part in this, because when you put it like that way, my appalling lack of talent will be very much on display when I'm paced up against drivers like this. I mean, you see that and you list off their accolades and achievements and you think, yeah, you know what? I'm glad I'm out here. It's safer in the box. I'm out of the way of very quick drivers like that, and I don't need to embarrass myself. So it's been great to see some of these absolute just
stars,
units and legends of iRacing out here. Simon Povey continuing to pump out the times. Lewis Ward, a little move that to take second place from Christian Saruta. Saruta's not giving up the ghost just yet, though. He's still keeping there or thereabouts, maybe even hanging back and waiting until the very end before making that daring move where there is no chance for Lewis Ward to fight back. Here we go, though, on board further back with John Roberts, the battle for 16th place. Look at the slipstream up the inside in towards turn 5. Late on the brakes, the front end compresses down beautifully there. You can see one thing I love about iRacing is that the cars move about realistically. None of this weird, like the cars are sliding about all four wheels like it's on ice, sliding around like in certain sims. So of course, anyway, wonderful, isn't it, that you can just get that motion of the car really nicely nailed down. Again, look at it on the brakes, they both compress down, even more so actually in the Aston Martin. That splitter just grazing along the tarmac.
Do you want to see something scary?
Oh.
So Tim Perry is now closer to Christian Saruta than Christian Saruta is to Lewis Ward. This could really help Lewis Ward, though, if Tim Perry starts to have a go at Christian. I think he needs to try and play just a lap or so here of patience, waiting behind Christian to see what he can do, and he's going to try and pounce on that final lap, I reckon, because if he starts to try and have a go at Christian here, then he's just going to make sure and put the nail in the coffin that these two will lose the McLaren, the Apex Racing Academy machine of Lewis Ward. Christian's in a horrible place right now where he has to think about what the car behind him is doing to catch him up, while also having to push like hell to go after Lewis Ward. This is just such an amazing dynamic in these later stages of the race. Look at him just dabbing the brakes there, just nursing the car around the carousel. No matter what happens here, it's been a really solid drive by Saruta. It's been absolutely flawless, in fairness. He just fell away a little bit after that first set of pit stops. Once he lost the slipstream, Simon and Lewis were so good together to stretch away that he couldn't do much from there. Still 3 minutes to go here, Ed. That's a good 7 or 8 minutes, isn't it? So it's far from over here. That's like half a sprint race in most championships.
Yeah, not here though, not tonight. Closing in, like we say, on the 400th kilometre at Road America. And Tim Perry's got his own set of questions to think about now. Is it worth fighting with Saruta this early on and seeing if there's any chance to then take Lewis Ward, or if it's best just to wait, see what Christian can do, maybe, hopefully get involved in the fight later on when they're all that little bit closer for now, I think Tim's best chance is probably to take the move earlier and then get some slipstream assistance, either to defend or to then attack Lewis Ward for second place.
Yeah, definitely. I think, if anything now, he just needs to sit and wait and see if Christian Tsuruta can push forward in terms of his pace. Now, Lewis Ward is going to get held up slightly here because he's going to be off the ideal line to go through the right-hander at turn 3 with Russell Clark there. That might help the guys behind. There's going to be a bit of slipstream given to the two Mercedes here. They're sitting in behind Russell. He moves to the right-hand side, and I think that has really helped Christian Tsuruta, and especially, I think he was focusing so much on Christian going by. Tim's a little bit late. All the lights suddenly come on at once, like everybody planned it. And now, in the final moments of this race, we are actually going to finish under lights, technically, which is nice to see. It's going to be bright and dramatic, but wow, 2 laps left to go after this one here in the Road America 400 kilometres by Sim Racing Magazine events, sponsored by Orris Digital and Derbyshire Holiday Homes, with Chaz Draycott and Ed May in the commentary box here on Chaz Draycott Media. What a fantastic race once again, Ed. I tell you what, I must admit, partway through this race, I thought, oh, it's a bit of a shame that it's spread out so much. There's not as much action as we were expecting. The slipstream didn't keep them together as much due to the pit stops. But wow, in these later stages, it's really come alive, but so are the cars. I mean, look at the way they're using the grass to over-rotate it. They're trying to extract everything out of the track now.
Tim Perry's just attacking every corner like his life depends on it. His race certainly does, as he can't afford to let Christian Tsuruta and Lewis Ward disappear too far up the road. He lost out a little bit with the traffic, but now finds himself well and truly back in the mix. The Simon Povey has started with, well, not the last lap, but the second to last lap. And he's going to probably win the race, oh my word, by nearly half a minute. As, oh, what's going on with Guy Robertson? Already seen that car having a few moments here and there. Is it just a tap of the grass on the way in?
Probably is, yeah.
Oh my word, no, again. It seems like there's been hardware issues for that car all race long, and that's the engine gone nearly, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the engine completely. Oh no, he's somehow managed to drag it back. It's kind of like my BMW, really. You have a catastrophic failure and somehow it just carries on.
It's like there was brake issues coming into Canada Corner a few laps ago. This time it was into the final corner. What's going on here with Tim Perry? Is it a mistake through?
Just while we were looking at it, yeah. He's lost so much ground there, and that's on the start-finish straight, so he's lost a massive amount of time to the cars in front, and I think he might have dropped slightly out of the slipstreaming range here. And he's still in it. It's 1.1 seconds, but Lewis Ward has managed to put 1.6 seconds on Tsuruta now. So all of a sudden it's spread out. It's going to take one mistake from any of them here to change this podium, unfortunately.
I think it's with Lewis Ward extending that advantage, the slipstream will become less and less for Tsuruta, which gives him not really a lot to help defend against the charging Tim Perry. You need every advantage you can get, and I think Christian, he wants to just stay close to Lewis Ward, not necessarily to overtake, but what I'm saying earlier, more just to defend, to get those extra few kilometers of an hour in towards the braking zones to fend off any charge. But for now, what's going on here?
Tim Perry's closed back in again. All of a sudden, it's 3/10.
A lot. Yes, that's mainly because Tsuruta, I think, has had a bit of a mistake somewhere. He's dropped way back from Lewis Ward, definitely outside of slipstream range now. As Simon Povey comes across the line to get the white flag. Dominant drive, as per usual, from the Season 1 champion.
Look at
now,
this, though.
Here we go. This is for the final step of the podium. Bottle of bubbly and a trophy on the line.
Oh, there's no bubbly for third. No, you don't know. You don't get. No.
Oh.
You're not done well enough if you finish third, apparently. But I'm joking. We're very grateful for the prizes from Orris Digital and Crockery Direct. And Tim Perry is already going for it. He wants it. He wants that trophy. And the two of them now, side by side, down into turn 1 on the 62nd lap here at Road America. And Christian Tsuruta plays the safe game, breaks a little bit early, lets Tim go in front. And he says, right, you dictate the pace from here, sunshine. Let's see what you've got. I'm going to have the slipstream now. I'm going to be the one that chooses whether I go past. It's such an important time for the two of them. Look at that though, mid-corner, Tim Perry's been able to carry a little bit more pace. I noticed earlier on that Zaruta was changing down the extra gear compared to a couple of other drivers. Holman's just on the fastest lap.
James Holman.
Fastest lap of the race by James Holman. Go on, lad. He's absolutely flying. 2:14.6. He's 2/10 quicker than Simon Povey's best time. That's an absolute screamer by James Holman. But Tim Perry, he's also had a bit of a screamer here in the first sector. Christian Zaruta was not able to get enough of a run out of turn 3. I was going to say he was changing down one gear more than a lot of other drivers to get that rotation mid-corner, and he wasn't getting the punch out of said corner either because he was going down to second where others were staying in third. Whether that's an experience with the car or not, I'm not sure, but still, it's such a close-knit battle between these two. But for just a moment, we do need to look a bit further forward in the pack and go to this man. Simon Povey for Spontex CDM Esports. I'm holding back the bias here. Genuinely, no matter how you look at this, it has been an epic drive by Simon. He fought off everybody he needed to in the beginning. He played the strategy game through some of the stints, and he has just continued to push on and on. And the man that won the very first Sim Racing Magazine GT4 challenge has shown us exactly why he did that. Hands together, everybody, for Simon Povey, who wins the Sim Racing Magazine Road America 400 kilometers in fantastic style. Amazing result for Simon. Very, very well done. This battle for third looks like it's all well and done, if I'm honest with you. There's only a couple of corners left to go just up the road from them. Lewis Ward, champion in Season 2 of the Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Challenge, has really stretched his legs, and he has certainly fended the guys off really well at the end. That was a really good job. Really good job by Lewis. He had to really come back from that drive-through penalty. But Tim Perry, I mean, for me, Ed, driver of the race, Tim Perry gets a podium for Altitude Esports against the likes of Povey, Ward and Zaruta. Hats off still to Christian because he put in a valiant effort, but my God, what a drive by Perry. Boy, oh boy, he certainly worked hard for that one, and he got a result that he will be very happy with.
Yeah, that was a amazing drive. He said,
Oh.
obviously, oh, here we go, boosted, battling at the finish, and it is going to be Berich ahead of Horder.
Edwards and Holman, by the way, teammates side by side across the line as well.
Oh. I have to say, Holman is probably going to be one of my shots for driver the race, purely just because he's gained 9 positions, and also for that blistering lap at the end there, the fastest lap. I don't know if you get anything extra for it, but I mean, credit to him. It was amazing just to see that time flash up all of a sudden.
This is the yeah, I was going to say this is the closest battle on track right now, actually, with not long to go at all left in this race. These are going to be 2 of the final cars across the line. Mark Johnson giving everything to try and get past the Scuderia Chicken House car of Pete Thickett. I know we probably still shouldn't have the music on while we've got this last bit of the race going on, but still, it is what it is. Can Mark Johnson get this done into the last couple of corners? 2.5 hours of racing have come down to this. He's going to try and go late on the brakes. Has Pete Thickett sent it in too far? Is the slipstream going to be enough for Mark on the exit? He's going to get the run. Is it going to be enough though? I don't think it is. Is the Porsche going to be able to stretch its legs enough? Is the chicken run going to be the one? He's going to do it, isn't he? Pete Thickett's going to take 14th place over Mark Johnson. Fantastic racing between the two. But wow, what a great event once again by Sim Racing Magazine. Really good fun. John Roberts is going to get his airtime as he crosses the line in 16th place and is the final car to cross said line. But Simon Povey, Ed, well, not a lot can be said other than wow, once again.
You do absolutely run out of superlatives trying to talk about this man and the things he's done behind the wheel of a GT4 car. And he's proven yet again tonight why he is, even though he was not the championship winner last season, is still certainly one of the favourites, if not the favourite, for Season 3 of the Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Challenge. Great from Lewis Ward to come back from the drive-through penalty, the setback that could have defined his race. He said no, he will fight till the very end and take back that second place, which he did brilliantly. A fighter from the word go as well, Lewis, to be fair. He had a lightning start, and from then on out, he was certainly one of the drivers to watch. And then this man, Tim Perry, like you said, Chaz, one of the drivers of the evening, coming back from that mid-pack tussle, the battling that he had throughout the field, stuck behind a very fast BMW in a straight line for a long time, but managed then, as soon as he got clear air, fought up to get a well-deserved third place.
Yeah, fantastic race. That was really, really good stuff. And, well, I'd say we got a very, very strong field of really deserving drivers there to get great results. Simon Povey wins by 27.8 seconds from Lewis Ward. Tim Perry with a fantastic podium in third. That was a hell of a drive. Palifi Racing's Christian Saruta gets fourth place. That doesn't tell the full story for Christian, though, because that was a really good drive by him as well. Taylor Adams, right under the radar for Regenta Sim Racing, but what a great drive that is. Fifth place in the Mercedes. He started ninth on the grid as well. Lee Berridge does a great job in the BMW in sixth, ahead of Mike Horder in seventh. Then it's Guy Edwards eighth, ahead of his teammate James Holman. Those two side by side over the line as well. And Johnny Elia rounds out the top 10. Daniel Martin finishes 11th after a good recovery due to his spin earlier on. Ben Gregory finishes 12th with Rob Sutherland in 13th. Scuderia Chickenhouse's Pete Thickett was 14th, as we saw, just ahead of Mark Johnson. And John Roberts was the last car on the lead lap in 16th place. Behind him was Byron Crawford and Oliver Carwadine, two of the drivers that have been commentating on for a while here in SRM. Then we had Stuart Clark in 19th and Toby Ward rounded out your top 20. Andrew Shepherd was 21st ahead of Martin Shirley, with Charlie Stout coming home one lap down in 23rd. Heinz Mayer was 24th in an Orris Racing trio there actually. Typically, Heinz Mayer and Ralph Mayer together on the finishing board as well. Kim Such finishing in 26th place, 27th was Stefan Mellis. Russell Clark finishing in 28th place, and he was the last finisher in the race after Guy Robertson, Ben Bennyworth, Tom Weston, Fausto Pinto, Andrew Marston, Danny Jones and Jakub Szymanski unfortunately retired from the race. Honestly, Ed, that was one of the best events we've had. That was really, really solid fun, that one. I really enjoyed it. Plenty to look at, plenty to think about all the way through the race. And we need to look back at just how bright it was earlier on in the day. Look, there was so much going on earlier. We need to just see now if we can have a chat with some of our drivers. And I'm very glad to say that one of the drivers we're going to speak to is the man that finished in fourth place in the end, but like I said, doesn't tell the full story. Christian Saruta. Christian, welcome to Sim Racing Magazine events, my friend. You must be pretty pleased with that one, though, because that looked very, very difficult, mate.
I ran out of fuel.
Oh, heck.
That's why I had to slow down at the end. I literally ran out of fuel across the line.
Oh, no. Well, that's not the way we want it to be decided, is it?
Yeah, no. I don't know what happened. I used the kind of the auto fuel thing, and it obviously did a calculation which didn't quite give me enough. So I had to I just let Lewis pass me because I was fuel saving. I'm like, if I push, then I'm going to finish about a third of a lap from the end.
Oh, heck. Well, I mean, it's one of those things in endurance racing, isn't it? So many aspects and levels to it. That's what makes it interesting, I suppose, from inside the car and out. But what have you made of the race overall? Or it certainly looked like you had some good battles out there for some of it.
Yeah, it was great fun. I just realised I'm also on the broadcast. I'm broadcasting on iRacing. Yeah, it was great fun. I didn't really know where I was or where I was going to come out, and then I saw Lewis had to get that. I think he had a penalty or something. He must have had a penalty or something.
Yeah, he had a drive-through penalty, I think, for incident points at one point.
Got it. So when I saw that, I was like, "Oh, game on here. This could be interesting." And then I came out just in front of him, but as I say, I didn't quite have enough in the tank, quite literally, as the saying goes.
Well, it was great fun to watch, Christian, and like I say, a wonderful name to have in our community here, and obviously involved in the championship. And it's always great to see that comparison, when we stick you back against guys like Simon Povey, Lewis Ward. They've both won the championship before as well, and having a special event in the cars that they've been driving so frequently is just awesome. Is the Mercedes a car you've been driving a lot, or is it something you've just jumped into for this?
Just jumped into it for this. So,
that's terrifying.
A bit of practice required, but hopefully with a bit of play around, I'll be able to close the gap a bit to Simon and Lewis. I felt like I could keep pace with them, and when I came into I think it was the first or second pit stop when I came in, I stopped a bit late and had to reverse back, which gapped them both. And I was in the tow, I was kind of hanging on. Mm-hmm. But when they'd gone, that McLaren is so fast in a straight line.
Oh, don't you start on all. Yeah. But no.
Or is that a known thing? Is it a regular phrase?
A little bit, yeah.
Well, it is.
Yeah, it is.
It is. But once they're gone, I kind of had to change tack with the fuel saving approach. But as I say, cocked it up right at the end. Just needed an extra litre to make it. But onwards and upwards.
Well, we've really enjoyed having you, Christian. Thank you very much for jumping in for the event, mate. Is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to?
Mum, sister, anyone else watching? Probably no one.
I don't know whether to be offended or not. But thank you very much, Christian. It's lovely as ever to speak to you, mate. We'll see you again soon, hopefully.
Cheers, bye.
Fantastic stuff. Christian Cerruto finishing in 4th place in that one. Like I say, Ed, really didn't show the full story there, the pace that he had, but the fact that he doesn't drive this car regularly and he's just jumped into it for this, that really shows you how good he is, doesn't it? Wow.
Yeah, and I think he's only going to get quicker and quicker. He is obviously a driver that will be taking part in the Season 3 of the Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Challenge. Running the number 2, I believe, for Billy Racing. I think he will, like you say, only get quicker and quicker throughout the course of the season. And like you say, you'll find out the little quirks of the car, the fact that it might not have necessarily the 1-lap pace of the McLaren, but over a race distance, it is a formidable machine. Speaking of the McLaren, we have a driver who's just jumped into the box. Driver of the McLaren, the car that finished in 12th place, Ben Gregory joins us in the comms box. And Ben, good to have you in for yet another race on Sim Racing Magazine, and it was quite an eventful one, I think it's fair to say.
Yeah, it was pretty good. Was a little bit surprised to see myself doing a full 360 at turn 3, but yeah, it was good fun having a fight with a lot of new people and a lot of old faces from the last season's GT4 Challenge. Absolutely fantastic race though, like really good. Apart from the fact I was on 19x for a good half of it, and scared of a drive through. But yeah, it was really good fun.
How's the McLaren been treating you, by the way, mate? Obviously, it's been a little while since you were last behind the wheel of GT4 machine, and is it just as fun as you remember?
It's very different. I feel like it drives a bit more like a Porsche Cup car, where you have to get the brakes down to get the nose in, or off throttle to get the nose in. This fixed setup is very understeering compared to the Aston Martin, where you could pretty much drift it on power. So it's a bit different, just relearning something new. But I'm definitely enjoying it though.
And obviously you are, I think, down to drive the McLaren for next season as a member of Boosted Jericho. And what would your aims be, obviously, looking forward to next season, which starts in just a week's time, actually?
People like Povey and Lewis Ward on the grid, I don't think I'm going to be winning many championships. So I think just trying to keep it consistent, really. Just have a fun rate, have a fun season. Keep it consistent, enjoy the races, see where I end up, really. Nothing too serious.
Well, I definitely think you'll have to have your work out for you, because that midfield is competitive as ever, mate, and we'll be looking forward to seeing you out there. But focusing on today and the race, just talk us through sort of how it was like, obviously getting off to a bad start and then having to fight back through the field.
It was quite interesting. I know this car's got quite a tendency to overheat its front, so it was interesting having to play that balancing match of do I want to actively fight my way through these people, or do I want to preserve tyres and hope for better later on? But I chose the former option because I have no concept of patience.
No, I know that all too well, Ben. I know that all too well, racing with you and against you. So it's all of us, mate. But no worries, fella. That was still a cracking show you gave us here on the broadcast. And speaking of the broadcast, is there anybody you would like to give a shout out before we say goodnight to you, mate?
Yeah, everyone from Boosted, and also especially for Lee and Mike for doing so well, getting right up there with in the mix. Yeah, and just everyone on the grid. That was really, really good fun. And to you guys for putting on, once again, a stellar broadcast.
Oh, thank you very much, mate. We always appreciate it, and that's why we bring you in, because you're always so nice to us. You always make us feel warm and fuzzy inside
Someone
when we
has to.
talk to you. Exactly, someone has to be kind to us. No worries, fella, though. You have a good night, bud. We'll see you in a week's time.
Yeah, cheers. See ya.
There we go then. Ben Gregory having a strong night in the McLaren, it has to be said, despite the issue early on. Still had a good run through the field at least, gained a place from where he started, and considering that he was completely around at the first couple of corners, and that's not a bad job at all, really, is it? Now, looking at other drivers and saying not a bad job at all, flipping heck, that is a colossal understatement when it comes to the race of Tim Perry, who had a magical time. I've literally just tried to find a bit of him not being in the pits, and I've gone from one to the other, but there we go, we're actually going to get footage of him on track now. Tim, you must be absolutely overjoyed after that one, mate, all the way through from that fantastic scrap early on to then benefiting from the other guys as well, having a bit of a torrid time at the end. Your pace was on fire, and you come away with it, well, with a trophy for getting a podium spot.
Yeah, well, I made it very hard for myself, that's what I'll say, because my start was just awful. I don't know what went on. I was just got a bit swamped by the other cars, and then I was no good in the draft at all. Just not be able to see the corner just really seemed to affect me a lot. So I kind of fell back, and I really had to find some clean air somewhere before I could really actually unleash my pace, which was actually half decent for a change. It was good.
I was saying before that, with the content you've been doing as well, and the consistent time you're putting in, even if it's a GT3 car to a GT4 car, it's definitely showing that your consistent pace is improving all the time, because that's the thing, isn't it? As a driver, it's easy to chase those extra tenths if you do it one lap at a time, but to keep that pace up over the course of a race like this, of 62 laps around Road America, it's not easy at all, is it?
Oh man, it was so hard. I'm definitely getting too old for endurance racing. Honestly, trying to concentrate every lap. You know what I mean? You just catch yourself sort of drifting off, thinking about other stuff. Oh, I wonder what Chaz is saying at the minute. And just like, I'm like, no, come on, concentrate on the race.
Well, I can tell you, it's never anything useful that I'm saying anyway. But even still, mate, this car, this track, how did it feel overall tonight? Were there times where you felt like it was a bit of a pig, or did you really gain a lot of confidence with it? Because it certainly looked like it in the lap times.
Well, it's the first time I've ever driven it, so yeah, it went quite well, really. I quite like this car. Yeah, I'm not really a GT4 driver. I basically just drive the GT3s and then the fun Formula stuff. So I think I bought it kind of a few days ago and did a bit of practice today. And yeah, but I mean, I love Road America. Road America is literally my favourite track. So yeah, it's one of those things. I could drive anything around there. Honestly, it's absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, I totally agree. That's why we wanted to put the event on here. It really is a circuit for great racing, and even if this field did spread out a little bit, when the battles did come back together, they were awesome fun to watch. And well, I mean, we didn't have a sort of official driver of the race or anything. There's no award for it, but I think me and Ed really agreed that you were our sort of most favourite driver in that race, because it was just such a great drive back through from that pack to bridge the gap between Zaruta, Ward and Povey to the rest of the field as well. So yeah, amazing drive, Tim. Really enjoyed watching that one. Is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to?
I should give a shout out to my parents, because they were actually watching. I kind of post a link on my Facebook and stuff, and yeah, got some messages from them after the race saying, well done, fantastic race, all that sort of stuff. So yeah, well, and thank you obviously for putting it on, and SRM and the SRM for putting it on, and obviously all the sponsors for providing the prizes and stuff. Absolutely brilliant.
Well, it's been an amazing event, Tim. Really good to see you do so well, and hopefully we'll see you again very, very soon, mate. Have a good evening.
Definitely. Cheers. Thank you very much.
Lovely stuff, Ed. Tim Perry, just as lovely as he is on track, off track as well. And I mean, it was just one of those drives, really, because everyone else, while you look at it relatively, everyone else stayed at a sort of stalemate with where they were. There was a bit more spreading out after that, but Tim broke away from that pack and then didn't sort of drag them along with him. He just disappeared over the horizon gradually, didn't he? And then suddenly appeared in the rearview mirrors of the top three. Just to do that with the drivers that he was doing it against was epic.
It was, a brilliant drive from Tim. It was obviously tricky at the beginning, getting shuffled back through the pack, and then in the middle of that huge battle, wasn't it, really, for about fourth down towards not even 10th place, and he was shuffled up and down in amongst that. He managed to somehow rise above it, and then the lap times he was putting in closed down on Christian Zaruta. I think the gap started out at about 10 seconds. He closed that down over the course of the race, and then not only closed it, but then managed to overcome it, get up into third place, get onto the podium. It was a brilliant drive.
Yeah, an epic performance. And of course, we can't forget our race winner, Simon Povey. He's not able to jump in for an interview, unfortunately, but he was just messaging me then saying, well, expletive words, but that was a lot of hard work. He said I had to go proper hammer time in stint 3 there, but he was really pleased with the result. And obviously it was a shame that the gap got opened up to Lewis due to that penalty, but still, you've got to wrangle the thing and bring it home, and Simon did exactly that in such a wonderful way. We're going to have to sign off here, though, on Chaz Draycott Media and the Sim Racing Magazine events Road America 400 kilometres. It's been an absolute joy. Thank you, of course, to our sponsors, Orris Digital and Derbyshire Holiday Homes. Thank you very much to my wonderful co-commentator, Ed May. We've had another good laugh again. To all the drivers that have been involved for entering and putting in their time, we know this was a very tough event, but hats off to each and every one of you, even those that did not finish as well. Thank you very much for joining in. Cheers to Andy Marston of Sim Racing Magazine, the absolute star that he is, for supporting all of this and of course helping to put it all together, and all of you wonderful people watching at home. We hope you've enjoyed the show. But that's going to be all from me, Chaz Draycott, and the wonderful Ed May here this evening on Chaz Draycott Media. Povey takes the win with a fantastic podium battle towards the end, and a wonderful array of drivers doing a great job. Have a fantastic evening, everybody. We'll see you again very soon.
Four French drivers at the French Grand Prix trying to win this on the final lap. The 3 wide again, Guillaume down the inside. Guillaume moves across, they're both in front of Milan and Pouget.
Before you know it, we find ourselves here in the very final race of the competition.
And then they see truck racing and they think, this is crazy, you know, these are 5-ton machines, 1200 horsepower brake. Oh, look at that switchback. Oh, he's been mugged and it's ready to show off.
Dan Gregory now, I love it. 10.5 minutes gone. Senna Lanson tries to go for the race lead.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head to head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
And for those of you that are still here at the end of the stream, here's a little treat for you and the premiere of the new trailer and intro video for the Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Challenge Season 3. Enjoy.